That's right.
So now you're trying to figure out a way to make it safe and make it good for them. And they were unable to get to the highest points in Miami, but he did make it work to some point. I just think now it's beyond salvageable for pretty much everything there, whether it be head coach, whether it be quarterback, whether it be front office. I think there just needs to be a cleaning out for Miami just to start anew.
100%. Definitely has to be a clean, a house cleaning situation happening there. And you're spot on with when Mike McDaniel came in. The last time we saw Tua, he was bad.
Mm-hmm.
People were questioning if he could even play in this league. And Mike McDaniel came in, and obviously that flipped, and they had some success and scored a lot of points. And Tua looked like a guy that can lead a team to a deep playoff run. But that part didn't happen, the latter part of it. And then now the trajectory is on on a straight downhill slope now. It's over.
People will call it a failure. I don't look at a failure. I just look at it as it's over.
It's over.
Evan McPherson is on for a 56-yard field goal for the Bengals. Why is this important? It's a 9-point game. Well, it would have made it a 6-point game if he was good. And there were 40 seconds left, and Cincinnati still had a timeout, so they could have gotten an onside kick. But instead, the kick sails right, and now Jordan Love will just have to take a couple of knees, and that should be it, as the Packers likely to walk away with a 27-18 victory. They're going to be happy in Wisconsin, but they're even more happier because the Milwaukee Brewers are in the National League Championship Series. So it's where I'm from. Yeah, a lot of my family, big Brewer fans, friends. Facebook last night was filled with everything. You want to know what happened to me last night in Game 5 of the National League Divisional Series?
What happened there?
So my wife talks to me on Friday, and she says, hey, so-and-so family members, they have kids, they want to come over, and they want to just go swimming, with our son, just cousins. And listen, it's going to be rainy this week. Like, this is the end of swim season, basically. Couldn't say no. So we had family get together last night, have the game on, but I have it muted because there's conversation going on, right? Kids are screaming, so watching the game, whatnot. Kids get done. They want to watch Nightmare Before Christmas. Okay? I am like, what am I going to do? So we're sitting at the table, the round table.
It's time for the kickoff show.
What a win for the 49ers!
Point lead for the Buccaneers with 2 minutes left. Niners getting the ball, no timeouts. This game is essentially over. Welcome into overtime here on 95.7 The Game. I'm Mark Grandy, Sterling Bennett with you as always. Sterling, this is going to be a loss. Niners are going to fall to 4-2. It was honestly, everything considered, a pretty valiant effort. The fact that this was a football game in the fourth quarter was impressive. But it's hard for me to shake what happened early in this game, and that was a gnarly Fred Warner leg injury. He dislocated his ankle, immediately ruled out from the game. We do not yet know exactly how long that injury is going to be. You see something like that, you immediately think it's a season ender. We'll wait for Kyle Shanahan to speak coming up once this game ends. The loss is one thing, Sterling, but the loss of Fred Warner is top of mind for me and I think most Niner fans. Welcome in. I wish it was under better circumstances than this. A tough one for the Niners.
Yeah, this kind of sucked.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you, Mark. This was a tough game in general. I thought San Francisco obviously had a chance throughout most of it, but turnovers, sloppy play, bad offensive line play, and when you lose the best linebacker in football and you give Baker Mayfield the middle of the football field to expose for almost 2 quarters, you're not going to win. And it's a game where I think San Francisco should ultimately hold their head down low and say, we did not play good enough football to win this game, even if you had Fred Warner, even if you had your starters out there. They just didn't play good football from the beginning. Obviously, Mac Jones, a couple turnovers today, some bad picks, just a pitiful day out there in Florida. And I think San Francisco has every reason to call themselves 4-2 after this one.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's 30-19 right now. Mac Jones just got sacked, by the way, again early on in this last drive. It's ultimately not going to matter. Even if the Niners were to score points on this drive, there's no way that they could do it quick enough, get an onside kick, get the ball back, and score again. But the offensive line broke down big time. They still cannot get the run game going. Not really all that surprising considering the Tampa Bay run defense is elite, one of, if not the best in the NFL. You're supposed to be able to pass on them, and the Niners did. I mean, Mac Jones has thrown for nearly 350 yards, a big chunk, 23 yards just now in garbage time to Christian McCaffrey to set up a fourth and manageable here for the Niners with under a minute left. But again, down 2 scores, no timeouts. This game is over. Maybe they can just get a couple more points for your fantasy teams out there. But they got dominated on both lines of scrimmage, Sterling, and it's hard to win a football game that way. And then you look at this defense who's already playing without Nick Bosa and now has to play without Fred Warner. And yes, you can say Tampa, well, they're down their top 4 receivers. We already knew they were going to be without Godwin, and we knew they were without Mike Evans. They lose Emeka Ibuka, who's in the running right now, the favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Doesn't really matter, though, when you don't have, as you mentioned, a middle-of-the-field presence, and you could just see immediately once Fred Warner went down, the Niners stayed in this game. I think it's thanks to grittiness and toughness, but you saw immediately, Sterling, once Fred Warner went down, what Tampa Bay was able to get in the passing game as a result. Fred just takes away so much for an opposing defense, an opposing offense for your defense. And it was a really, really tall task to ask this Niner defense to keep Baker Mayfield and this Tampa offense in check without Fred Warner. There's not an easy way to go about it.
When the worst part about it is you start to think long-term now. Let's say Fred Warner is out for the year, which we don't know just yet. You added Nick Bosa, and you have to ask yourself, how far can this version of the San Francisco 49ers go? And obviously, it's only week 6. Like, that is the worst part about this. You lose against Tampa Bay. It sucks. You're still in first place in the NFC West. Hey, you've lost some ground, but you're still in first place. The sky's not falling just yet, but I'm sorry. If you do not have Fred Warner, if you do not have Nick Bosa, your uphill climb with the easiest schedule in football, it becomes one of the harder schedules in football. Like, you are not going to find much success against mediocre quarterbacks, let alone great quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield is now, and hope to win games on the road. And let's call it like it is, Mark. San Francisco narrowly beat the Rams. They narrowly beat the Cardinals. They narrowly beat the Seahawks. They narrowly won against the Saints.
All their wins.
You're going to lose.
All their wins could be losses. Yeah.
One-score game. You are going to lose games like this when you don't have Fred Warner operating the middle of the football field. He is the best linebacker in football, bar none. You can't get a pass rush, and when you do get a pass rush, you can't bring the guy down on 3rd and 14. It's like, what's going on? So just a rather upsetting day from San Francisco's perspective. Watching the game here, I'm in Oklahoma, Mark, right now. We were in the Midwest, already kind of in the wake of the Oklahoma-Texas game last night, not having a great one. But right now, on Sunday, we are mourning 2 losses back-to-back out here in Boomer Sooner country.
Yeah, that was a tough one yesterday for the Oklahoma Sooners against the Texas Longhorns in the Red River rivalry. Excuse me.
Hey, it's a mouthful.
I could not quite spit it out, but this is a tough one for the Niners as well, and it's overtime here on 95.7 The Game. We got an awesome afternoon and evening here for you on 95.7 The Game. Sterling and I have you for the next 2 hours until 6:30, and then guess what happens at 6:30? Warriors preseason basketball. They're down in LA getting set to take on the Lakers. So Warriors, Lakers, preseason basketball with Tim Roy and company coming up in 2 hours. Sterling and I are with you until then. That game tips off a little after 6:30. Tim Roy will take the air at 6:30 right here on 95.7 The Game. There was a lot of moments in this game where you could feel the game turn, Sterling, and before I get to one that pops to mind immediately for me, I want to give out the phone number because we want to hear from you guys over the next 2 hours. 888-957-9570. That's the number to call. It's also our Boxer and Gersten work injury attorneys text line. I see the text line active right now. The 707 chiming in. The 209 chiming in. The 707. 707's upset, Sterling. I've got like
They're hot.
I got like a thread here from the 707 that's 5 separate texts long. They wrote a paragraph. They're writing a novel of everything that they're frustrated about. We'll get to that coming up in a little bit. Appreciate the 707 and everybody for chiming in on the text line. We've also got you covered on the YouTube chat, youtube.com/957 the game. Shout out to Chicago Jason, to Mickey, to Big City Man, to Apollo, to John, to Jason, to Joseph, to Roy's, and a few others who are chiming in. Keep the comments coming. We'll get to you on the YouTube chat as well. But Sterling, it was late third quarter. Niners down by 8. 27-19 was the score. And the Niners got the Buccaneers into a 3rd and 14. A 3rd and 14. They were aided by a hold on Tristan Wirfs. Didn't really look like a hold to me. The Niners got a little bit lucky on that one. Backs them up to a 2nd and 20. Ultimately becomes a 3rd and 14. And for one of the few times all game long, the Niners cleanly got pressure on Baker Mayfield. 2 guys, Bryce Huff and Trevis Gibson, they had Baker Mayfield, Sterling, dead to rights. Absolutely dead to rights. Late third quarter, 3rd and 14. He ducks to shrug off Trevis Gibson. Bryce Huff is on his backside, can't quite grab a hold of him, steps up in the pocket, rolls left, extends the play, breaks another tackle, somehow is able to juke 3 dudes out of their shoes and extends for a first down. It should have been 4th and 23. Instead, he scrambles for 15 yards on 3rd and 14, gets the first down. Niners don't get the ball back. It was at that moment, Sterling, I ultimately was proven to be wrong. It was at that moment. Pardon me, I said it was 27-19. It was only a 1-point game at that point, 20-19, and then 2 plays later, it was the 45-yard deep shot to Tez Johnson for a touchdown. Niners go down by 8. They ultimately don't score, and they lose that football game. When you are so already weak, Sterling, in terms of a rushing the passer category, when you have those opportunities, you have to take advantage. That, to me, felt like turning point number 1 where the Niners lost the game. There were some other moments, but you just can't let that play happen.
I was sitting on my couch, my entire family, haven't seen him in 14 years, right?
Wow.
Said, hey, when Baker Mayfield breaks out of the sack, I threw my hands up and said, you gotta be kidding me. This is the game. It's over. It's over.
Yeah.
And they were like, why are you getting so animated? So then I go, because this is what happens. When you let Baker, who I don't think was great in this game, he had a couple of nice drives, obviously a couple of big throws, but ultimately he didn't have a Baker Mayfield 300-plus passing yard game, 3 touchdowns. It wasn't like Baker has been.
I mean, he
was
to be fair
phenomenal.
To be fair to Baker, he's throwing to 4th and 5th and 6th stringers.
Oh, right. Well, 100% correct, but it wasn't like San Francisco's defense was playing terrible football up until that point.
Yeah.
But Fred goes out, you miss the sack, you give him the first down, he's out there flexing on your linebackers and your defensive ends, and you're sitting back like, what just happened?
Yep.
We just got shell-shocked. Then Marquis Seagull out there flat-footed like, I don't know how to cover a wide receiver down deep, 35 yards downfield, runs right by him. The dude got 5 yards out, put his hand up and said, game over. It was bang, bang, night, go San Francisco. So, yes, those are the 2 plays. The back-to-back back-breaking plays for San Francisco. You said it was a 1-point game. You go down, now it's 8 points, and it felt like that was the more demoralizing loss for them when those 2 plays happened. Yourself, I said it. I'm sure every Niner fan said, well, wrap it up. Terrible Florida trip, and let's come back home against the Falcons.
Yeah, and yet somehow, even once that happens, Baker Mayfield, dead to rights, escapes, converts a 3rd and 14 with his legs. 2 plays later, 45-yard bomb. Instead of only being down by 1 and getting the ball back in the 3rd quarter, you're down 8. Even with all that, Sterling, even with all that, and the Niners didn't score on their next drive. There was a Levante David strip sack that it was originally called a strip sack, a fumble, and he recovered, ultimately overturned. Not a fumble, but still a sack. Niners have to punt. They don't score on that drive. Even with all that, the defense steps up and gets a stop the next drive because they force McLaughlin into a missable field goal. He misses from 49 yards out. Still a 1-score game. Plenty of time left. You get the ball back. Mac Jones gets sacked. on first down. You ultimately line up to punt on 4th and 4 from near midfield, catch a major break because Vita Vea, the only bad play he made all game long, he dominated, by the way, dominated the middle of the Niners' offensive line. And we got to talk about the offensive line.
Which that's not hard to do, by the way.
It's not.
Let's be honest about it.
Vita
not
Vea,
much of an accomplishment there.
Vita Vea, one of the biggest, most ferocious nose tackles in the NFL. He generally wins his matchups. Let's just say he was licking his chops today because he knew the interior of that Niner offensive line is, we can just say it, bad. Frankly, bad.
They stink.
They're really, really bad. We'll talk about that in a sec. But the only mistake that Vita Vea made was on a Niner punt with a little more than 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. He ran into Thomas Morstead, extending the Niners' drive. And in that moment, Sterling, the opposite of what I was thinking when Baker ran for the first, and I'm thinking, oh my God, that might be the play that swings this game back to the Niners' side. But they just can't get going offensively in that point. There was a Dominic Pooney false start on a 4th and 1, really 4th and inches that they were lining up to go for it, which 4th and inches, right decision, go for it. Even though you're in field goal range, you're down by 8, still with plenty of time left, but you want to try to score a touchdown, and 4th and inches, you go for it. Then 4th and 6 from the Tampa Bay 34 with about 6 minutes left. You decide to go for it, and Mac Jones looks for Juwan Jennings, throws it into double coverage. It's picked off, whatever. You're throwing it anyway. It's a turnover. If it doesn't get caught, the interception doesn't really matter. You force it in there, see if you get lucky. But that Pooney false start really hurt them. They can't take advantage. I was wondering if Shanahan was thinking about kicking the field goal after the false start because you still had a lot of time and 2 timeouts. Now, ultimately, the offense didn't really get you a stop after that anyway. So maybe going for it was the right decision. But you got a major break. The Vita Vea running into the punter, a major, major break, Sterling, and the Niners unable to take advantage. You can't give other teams breaks, and then when they give it back to you, not take advantage and expect to win football games.
Well, you're right, but let me ask you this.
Yeah, what's up?
The Niners in this game, despite all the mistakes they've made, had a chance almost up until the end of the fourth quarter besides the last drive for the Buccaneers and the Mac Jones interception.
Yeah.
Do you think if they are, let's say Fred Warner's not healthy and Nick Bosa's healthy, but they have Brock Purdy, they have George Kittle, and they have, let's say, Ricky Pearsall's back out there. Obviously, it certainly helps them. But am I wrong to believe it wouldn't have mattered if those guys were healthy? Because this offensive line is so bad.
It's really bad.
I don't care how many weapons you have. The Bengals are a terrible team. Not because of how bad the receivers are. The quarterback isn't great. It's Joe Flacco. Shout out Joe Flacco. But
although, they were competitive with Green Bay today.
Right.
Somehow.
But their offensive line is the issue, and it has been for a long time.
For years. Yeah.
Right. And now we're going on 2-3 years of San Francisco's offensive line being a massive issue, mainly the interior guys. And Pooney, I have a bone to pick with you, brother. Year 2, my gosh. Talk about a sophomore slump. Put me in the nursing home. I'm done.
We're going to start talking about it now. It's going to be a talking point in this team, not just the offensive line in general, but Pooney. Maybe this is a cop-out, Sterling. He can't be healthy. I know he got hurt in the preseason. He cannot be fully healthy, because if this is Dominic Pooney fully healthy, he's not playing like anywhere near a starting level guard in the NFL. He is really, really struggling, not just getting beat off the ball all the time, but the penalties. Yeah. The 4th and inches, the only thing you can't do is jump early, and he jumps early. Ridiculous. Yeah. Ridiculous, Sterling. And we knew that the offensive line was a problem coming into the year. I think you and I, if anyone on the station, probably talk about it the most whenever we're on the air.
I hope so.
You and I have long felt the offensive line needed addressing, in a major way. Honestly, through the first 5 games of the year, it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. The run game issues are a major red flag.
But first, they got their first rushing touchdown this year.
They did. It only took them, what? It was in the second quarter of the 6th game.
Too bad it didn't matter.
So it was in the 22nd quarter they played, Sterling. First rushing touchdown of the year in their 22nd quarter. In fact, I have the number here for you really quick. Let me find it. Where did this happen?
It's just this team.
The first rushing touchdown of the year for the 49ers came on their 148th rushing attempt of the season. Yeah. Not all that is offensive line, but a big chunk of it is.
Sure.
But I think the point, Sterling, the offensive line to me, wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be through 5 games. Today, though, it was just absolutely god-awful.
Well, that's the thing is, we saw last week against the Seahawks, the Buccaneers defense didn't play great football. They're a much more run-defending team. They're not going to get sacks. They'll blitz at times, but if you're an offensive line, you want to play good enough to at least make the opposing defense have to blitz you. If that's how you're going to win the game, is you have to bring 5, 6, 7 guys to come at our quarterback, and it felt like there were lanes open the entire time. First, second, third down. I think Mac Jones had a strip sack twice, and one of them got called back. It really was 3 times in this game. And he has a PCL injury. He has an oblique injury.
Yep.
And you're asking guys to gut things out. And look, if Dominic Pooney's hurt, wow, that's great, dude. You're doing what everybody else is doing. Playing hurt. I know that may hinder you. It certainly may cause problems for you. And look, I want Pooney to be healthy. I think there's a good player in there somewhere. But it's not just him. It's Jake Brendel. I know we don't have the all-22. We don't have the film yet. I cannot tell you how many times in this game I sat back and said, why is Jake Brendel facing the quarterback? That's a problem. Connor Colby hasn't even been great this year, but I wasn't pointing at him being like, 7th-round rookie isn't bad. Jake Brendel, a former second-team All-Pro. I know you're not good anymore, but, what's happening? I don't know what Chris Forrester out there, the offensive line coach, sees. I'm no offensive genius. I don't coach the NFL. Maybe I'm wrong. But I'm sorry. I don't think your center should be turned facing your quarterback, shaking his head like, oh, I lost that one. You lose everyone, brother. Come on. Block for somebody on the ground. No lanes to run. Dominic Pooney, false starts. Again, getting blown up on third downs. Mac Jones getting strip sack. I mean, I do not know how you look at this offensive line and say, yep, you can block for our offensive weapons. You cannot find time to throw if you can't find time for your quarterback to throw and get the ball into your guys' hands. So I don't want to say it was pitiful, but from a positional breakdown standpoint, I'd probably give the offensive line an F. That's how bad it was today.
By far their worst performance of the year. Yeah.
Grandy's grades, F. There's your Grandy grade right there for you.
Grandy's grades coming up Tuesday with Willard and Dibs here on 95.7 The Game, and I'll be sending that report card out, coming up once we get off the air around 6:30 or so here on 95.7 The Game. Yeah, you can just put an F on the offensive line category. That's how bad it was. They did get their first rushing touchdown of the year, yes, but also still on the ground, Sterling. They averaged 3 yards per carry on the ground in this game. Brian Robinson, not a single rush in this game. He was in the game for a handful of snaps, was targeted 3 times. He was targeted, 3 times for 3 catches for only 8 yards in the passing game. I don't really understand the utilization of Brian Robinson. McCaffrey had 17 carries for 54 yards. Today was probably more a case of just you get down and you already know this is an elite rushing defense. You're probably going to throw the ball more than you normally would anyway. Right. Mac threw the ball 39 times today, which is on pace with about what happens every single game for the 49ers this year. But the Brian Robinson utilization has been a little strange. By the way, we did just get this. We're going to hear the full Kyle Shanahan coming up later on in overtime. Kyle Shanahan says that Fred Warner, all-pro linebacker Fred Warner, has a broken and dislocated ankle. He will need surgery. Does not sound, I'm going to confirm this, does not sound like he has said officially the season is over, but a broken and dislocated ankle needing surgery, Sterling, his season is over.
The hope, and it's a long shot, is that if you can make the playoffs, maybe he makes a push and he comes back maybe in January. Probably 4 to 6 months is probably the recovery time. You're in October now. If anything, if there's going to be a superhuman recovery, it's going to be Fred Warner. But, you're probably going to see D. Winters and maybe Nicholas Martin playing Sam linebacker and Tatum Bethune out there. But if today was an indication of what's looking forward, you're playing Michael Penix. You got Daniel Jones this year. You have Stafford again. Fred Warner is the ultimate eraser for the defense, so a massive hole to fill and one that is really not fillable at all. So you lose your best two defensive players this season, and you have to ask yourself and the fans, how far can this team actually go? It's a big hill to climb for us, Grandy.
Yeah, Shanahan's direct quote, and we will hear from him later on. quote on Fred Warner's injury, dislocated, think it broke too. He'll end up having surgery, and the expectation is that it's going to be season-ending, which is just absolute terrible news for the 49ers. It's overtime.
He's missed one game in his entire career.
He played last year on a fractured ankle, right?
Yes, he did.
Now fully broken and dislocated this time around. Heartbreaking.
Brutal.
Absolutely heartbreaking. It's just it's a disaster. We had this conversation once Nick Bosa went down with a torn ACL, Sterling, and it was talked about a lot on this station and I'm sure elsewhere in other circles. Who's the one guy you can't afford to lose on defense? Is it Nick Bosa or is it Fred Warner? Well, to hell with that conversation because you lost both for the year, Sterling. Now what the hell do the Niners do?
Dude, I don't buy into curses and all that stuff, but I'm starting to believe it now. I don't know what jersey or what burial ground that stadium is built on top of, but my goodness, man, it's every year, and it's not just one guy. It's not one injury. It's Chris O'Connell, who we all know from the station. He texts me. He goes, something's up. Like there's some underlying issue happening. It ain't team doctors. It ain't cut the entire training staff. It's just this team feels like they are cursed. And it's so hard to ignore that now. I don't know what the issue is. I don't know if they have to call Aaron Rodgers and say, hey, darkness retreat, starting next weekend. We got to figure this puppy out and really find ourselves. But you lose Fred, you lose Nick. You already don't have Purdy. You don't have Kittle. You haven't had Ayuk. You haven't had Pearsall for a handful of weeks. I mean, I don't know how long a team this depleted can survive. Like, that's the bigger thing. Because the injuries aren't going to stop. Guys are going to get re-hurt. Yep. They're going to get banged up again, and you hope.
And new guys are going to get hurt. Like, I mean,
exactly.
Look. I'm not trying to be doomsday and make things worse than they already are because they're already terrible. You're telling me the pace that McCaffrey's on touch-wise, he's going to be healthy for the whole year? You're telling me that Trent Williams at 37 years old is going to be healthy for the whole year, and Trent is nowhere near as good as he once was? Like, you got issues, like major issues. Obviously, we know that, but like, this is it. Injuries generally just get worse as the season goes along, Sterling. You're going to get guys back, and you're going to get Kittle back, and you're going to get Mac back, and Ayuk eventually, and you got Malik Mustafa back today. Didn't seem great today, but he's getting back into the swing of things. Like, you will be getting guys back, but just assuming that once those guys come back, that one, they won't get hurt again, and two, everyone else might not get hurt, that's foolish.
And I guess in some awkward, weird, kind of mean-spirited way, you hope the NFL playing field kind of, evens out for you, but that would require other teams getting decimated by injuries as well, because you are decimated by injuries, and you don't want that. But, like, the climb was always going to be uphill for San Francisco, and you had a terrible year last year. The hope was, can you stay relatively healthy with a bad schedule ahead of you? You should be able to win 10 games. They've won 4. Can they win 6 more? To me, the season for San Francisco now becomes a chase to 10. Can you get 6 more games and get wins? I think they can. That should get you at least a wild card spot, but you have to wonder. The Seahawks are winning football games. The Rams are winning football games. The Cardinals are terrible, so they're losing football games. But like your job is by far not over. And you lost against the Buccaneers, and we may look back when it's all said and done and say, wow, 4-1 start really was the difference maker in making the playoffs and missing the playoffs, which usually you don't want to say. But this team has to find its spirit again, because that late in the game against the Buccaneers today, there didn't seem to be too much fight from the offense. From the defense. Yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say, you're 4-2. You played 6 games. You got 11 games left. So if you go 6-5 in those 11, it gets you to 10 wins. You go 10-7, you got a chance at the playoffs. Probably not going to be good enough. 10 wins to win the division. But there's a good chance that gives you the 6 or the 7 seed in the NFC. Given the way that things are going right now, we shall see how that all plays out. It's overtime here on 95.7 The Game. That's Sterling Bennett, live from Oklahoma. I'm Mark Grandy with you here from our 95.7 The Game studios in downtown San Francisco. We're with you until 6:30 here on Overtime today, and then we hand things over to Tim Roy and company down in L.A. as we get ready for Warriors preseason basketball. Up next is Will in Berkeley on the phone lines, 888-957-9570. Will, what's up? You're on Overtime with Grandy and Sterling. What do you got for us, Will?
Happy holiday weekend, guys. Yeah, I thought I was watching Madden for a while when I saw what's his name just like juke about 3 different defenders on our team. Baker Mayfield. It was crazy. I think that the defense was shook for some reason. I don't know what was going on. Maybe it was the injury to Fred Warner, and I think that overall the offensive. And we keep saying this for years and years and years. I know you guys said it earlier, but every year we say, what's up with the offensive line? What's up with the offensive line? When are we going to stop asking those questions and just start making trades, making drafts? I mean, it's crazy. So it helped me out. Like, now we're 4-2. Do we have a chance, given the fact that we have a decimated team, to make this a better team going forward? Can Kyle do? Is there anything Kyle can do now that we see the injuries that he can make adjustments to our team? Thanks, guys.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Will. And yeah, happy Indigenous Peoples Day tomorrow across the United States. Or used to be called Columbus Day. We don't really call it that anymore, but happy Indigenous Peoples Day. I think Will brings up a good question, Sterling, because I think we just talked about it. There's still a very real chance the 49ers can make the playoffs, right? Like, you're talking about winning 6 of your remaining 11 games. You still have a somewhat soft-ish schedule. Like, yeah, they could do it. You get Kittle back, you get Brock back, McCaffrey stays healthy, and you have a chance. There's no doubt that you have a chance. Where I think this conversation shifts to now, Sterling, is, are the 49ers now more or less motivated to put more resources into this year's team and to go out and make a trade for, say, someone like a Trey Hendrickson or somebody else to help? Because the mindset of acquiring someone like Trey Hendrickson is for this year
Who
only.
also got hurt today, by the way.
Who did also get hurt today. Don't know about the severity.
He fits right in, Mark. Bring him over.
Don't know about the severity of that injury. But if you bring in
it on, man.
if you bring in somebody like that, that's for this year and this year only. Maybe you re-sign him in the offseason and he's here for a while, probably not, given all the other money you have tied up elsewhere. But if you sign him, it's for this season alone. And is Trey Hendrickson, given that you're without Nick Bosa and Fred Warner for the year, is that going to be enough to make you convinced that this is now a team that can legitimately win postseason games and maybe get to a Super Bowl? Like, that seems like a long shot to me. So to me, as I don't know, depressing as this sounds, this probably discourages the Niners from going out and making a big splash move, because they feel like the big splash move, which would be for this year alone, which would cost some valuable draft assets, probably isn't going to turn out to be worth it, because the team as a base now isn't good enough in the first place.
When it's a heck of a lot easier to go out there and trade the farm essentially for an edge rusher, whether it's Hendrickson or Kayvon Thibodeau, or go poach one of the Jets guys and say, hey, Saul, you know this dude, figure it out.
Yeah.
It's easier to do that than go get an all-star, all-pro linebacker. Like that, you don't get those guys on the market ever. And if you do, they're going to cost you a premium. So you're not asking John and Kyle and Parag and Jed to replace one elite guy. You're asking them, hey, can you replace 2 of those guys?
Yep.
And I think what the fan base, and even myself at times, needs to realize is that you can't just make trades because you guys go down and you need a guy, right? You have other teams that think they're winning football games. The Giants just beat the Eagles a couple days ago. Other bad teams may not be inclined to sell to you.
They haven't felt as good about themselves since Daniel Jones led them to the playoffs a few years ago. The Giants are feeling amazing right now. They're probably looking to add to the team as opposed to sell.
Or at least be competitive enough to not sell and keep the head coach in place and give it a shot in 2026. But on top of that, this Niners team, despite being 4-2, number 1 in the NFC West, they still have to earn the right to make a trade. You don't make trades because, guy goes down, we'll go replace him with, willy-nilly or, whatever else. Like, you have to earn the right to put yourself in the position to make a trade. And to the caller's question, what can San Francisco do? You rewind all the way back to the preseason, Mark. We discussed young defense, unproven. It's the offense that has to lead the way for this team. Now with no Nick Bosa, with no Fred Warner, with the lack of a pass rush, which might get better with time, but that's a big hope. It is not the expectation as of right now. a secondary that on paper is good, but they've had some problems covering the deep ball this year. And now you hope you can get Brock and Kittle and Pearsall. Maybe Ayuk comes back eventually, and maybe you can find some semblance of a running game, which it's not going to happen, unfortunately. The offense has to be the unit, the side of the ball to say, hey, we can pick up the defensive slack and we can push the front office with scoring 27 points a game, scoring 26 points a game. They haven't scored over what? I'm pretty sure 26 points has been their highest all year.
And they got that in overtime. Yeah.
Right. It took them 5 quarters to do it. They scored under 20 points today against the Buccaneers defense. They didn't have 2 of their top 3 cornerbacks and lost to Emeka Mbuka in the early second half. That has no running game. Like, this offense looks bad. Like, I know they've won 4 games. They've not been great at all outside of the Saints game, and that ain't saying much. Like, it's going to have to take a healthy Purdy, a healthy Kittle, and those guys to step up and do what they were supposed to do before all of those guys got hurt and be the reason this team finds themselves either 6-2 or 6-3 at the trade deadline, kind of pushing Prague and John to say, okay, we'll buy in, we'll go buy a rental piece and hope they win things for you, but you're not finding Fred Warner 2.0 out there. You're not finding a Nick Bosa 2.0 out there usually, so it's a big ask, and it's probably not going to happen at all now, but time will obviously tell.
Yeah, we're going to get to Kyle Shanahan's full post-game comments coming up when we come back from a break. We'll do that early in our next segment at the top of the hour around 5:05. I'm going to get to a couple calls here in just a sec. So hang out, Big Smooth, and hang out, Adam. We're coming to you in a sec. I did, though, want to read this, though, because Juwan Jennings is also speaking post-game, and he told the reporters in the locker room he is playing with 5 broken ribs and high and low ankle sprains. That's what Juwan Jennings has said. Now, there was also some Juwan Jennings-related drama today. He did not have his best game, had a catch on a 3rd down conversion in the second half. At the time was his first catch of the game. Had a really rough false start and had a rough pass interference where he laid a vicious block on a Buccaneer before McCaffrey caught the ball, and it took away a nice little gain. And Kyle Shanahan was seen at multiple times throughout the game, specifically very late in the first half, Sterling, shouting at Juwan Jennings, like aggressively shouting to the point where Niners personnel had to separate the 2 guys. It did not get physical, but there was a lot of anger, specifically from Shanahan to Juwan Jennings. Seemed like a one-way street to me, to the point where they had to be separated, and you could tell there was some awkwardness between those 2 for the rest of the game. But Juwan says he's playing with 5 fractured ribs and both high and low ankle sprains. Makes sense considering that he was basically a non-factor out there today, Sterling.
Well, on top of that, people can take that and turn that into, Shanahan, the head coach, in all this chaos, is fighting with his, at this point, star wide receiver who wants to get paid big money, held out the entire offseason. Like, that could be some form of maybe a fan thinking they're dysfunctional. That you're all banged up. Yeah, you're 4-2, but there is some sort of dysfunction happening behind the scenes, whether it is because of money. It doesn't seem that way, but if you have a guy out there playing with 5 broken ribs, a high and low ankle sprain, he's saying, I'm giving it all I got. Yep. And this offensive line can't do anything, and we can't give me the football but twice today. Brian Robinson, going back to your point earlier, no carries. He had a kick return. Why is Brian Robinson on kick returns?
Well, it's because, okay, another thing. This is not kick return related necessarily. I want Sky Moore off the team. What the hell is Sky Moore doing on punt return, Sterling? Twice catching a punt inside the 5, once at the 1 and once at the 3. Oh my, you play Pop Warner football and you're told you plant your feet at the 10-yard line. If the ball goes over your head on a punt, let it bounce.
He can't catch.
Yeah.
Okay? At least he caught the punts. He didn't muff them. But my God, just run out of the way. Someone asked me, why is he catching those punts, Sterling? And I have no other answer other than he's got to just be an idiot. Like, I can't understand it, Sterling. How else can you explain it? Why is he catching over and over? Why is he catching punts inside the 5, costing the Niners like chunks of field position multiple times a game? I don't get it.
There's got to be some person out there that has Sky Moore on their fantasy team. It might be Sky Moore himself, who's like, hey, these 2.5 yards I may gain are going to help me a lot. But you're right, Grandy. His heels are on the 1-yard line. And I'm like, what are we doing, man? Just move sideways, get out of the way. Even if the ball bounces up and they get it, what can you do? Nothing. Either you fair catch it there, you run forward a yard, it doesn't matter. But you're better off risking the opportunity to get a touchback to help your team go to the 20, 25-yard line and give them a break. But no, drives on the 7, drives on the 14, drives on the 6. It's like you cannot have your offense be banged up and your special teams be a problem. That's exactly what happened last year. And you're right, he didn't fumble the football, but I'd rather not even have a returner out there than be as bad as he was. My father texts me and goes, "What are we doing? Like what's going on?"
It's a great question.
And I'm like, I can't even respond to you because no response can actually describe or justify what's happening.
What is going on here?
Exactly. Like, what is going on? Like, again, to quote Willard, what are we doing?
Yep.
Like, what are you doing? Just get out of the way.
Makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. All right, let's sneak in one call before we hit a break. Adam in Marin, you will be next up when we come back from a break. Big Smooth will take us to break, though. Big Smooth, what's up? You're on overtime. What do you got for us?
Man, I'm trying to figure out, am I talking to gloom or doom? Which one? But listen, man, the game came down to really 2 plays. It came down, obviously, to Baker Mayfield, 3rd and 14, which he shook 2 tackles. If you go back and look, those should have been tackles. And then it came down to the interception Mac threw. Tungus was wide open. He was wide open for the first down. He was right open, wide open. Those 2 plays, you take that away, that was a good game. In spite of the injuries, in spite of everybody going down, the 49ers were right there. And if I'm really thinking about it, the 2 games lost, they were in those games. It wasn't like the game was over. There were anytime you can pinpoint a player or 2 as to why they lost, I think that's a good sign, guys. The young guys will get better as they play. I'm encouraged because I think this team, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they could be a couple plays away from being undefeated, and that sounds crazy if you think about it. But yeah, it just came down to those 2 plays. I mean, come on, we got to fault a guy who's playing with 4 broken ribs. He didn't have his best game. Well, no kidding. So I'm encouraged, man. I know it's a bummer losing Fred, but I'm sure the guy behind Fred is not an incompetent player. It comes down to just giving these guys some burn. Let them run. They'll get better. You're not gonna replace Fred Warner with anybody.
Yeah.
No trade is gonna replace him. So forget that.
Absolutely.
The thing is, don't correct. Listen, Baker Mayfield got a first down. This comes down to tackle. This is tackle football. How does he get those 2 tackles? There's
Big Smooth, I'm going to answer the question for you. I guarantee you, if Fred Warner's on the field, Baker Mayfield doesn't get the first down. Like, yeah, you're right. You can't replace Fred Warner, but you have Fred Warner on that play. You probably get that stop, and maybe you win the football game as a result. And Big Smooth, I always love hearing for you. Call back every overtime, please. And I love your positive energy. I will just say they are a couple plays away from being 6-0. Sure, you could say that. They're also a couple plays away from being 0-6. Legitimately, a couple plays away from being 0-6. All of the losses could be wins. This one, the most difficult of the 2 losses to turn into a win. But all 4 of their wins, Sterling, could also very easily be losses. They probably should be somewhere around 3-3. They're a game better than that, 4-2. Feels like the Niners have caught a little bit of luck in terms of the close game luck edge. And they're 4-2 as a result.
You know, courtesy of doom and gloom over here. Which, look, Big Smooth, we love you. Keep calling back, please, like Randy said. You're right in a sense that there are positive things to take away, that, yes, despite the mistakes they've made, like the game against Jacksonville, they're right there almost near the end. That is a positive takeaway. However, the fact is the penalties are still there. The offensive line's been terrible all year, and now you are taking a young defense that you are going to have your 2 stars, your 2 elite guys, to hopefully steer in the right direction, to guide. Like, their safeties are 1- and 2-year pros. A guy 6 games into his career. Their cornerbacks are Lenore, he's great, then a rookie, and a 2-year pro. Their linebackers now are a 3-year guy having a great year in D. Winters, and a 2nd-year 7th-round draft pick, and a special teams guy. Like, that's not a unit you love and say, oh, they're going to beat a lot of good teams.
Yep.
Now, they might. They can surprise us, but I'm sorry for having some skepticism in regards to how good this defense can play, knowing It's not that you lost 2 starters. It's you lost two top 10 defensive players in football in the span of 3 or 4 weeks. And it's really hard for teams that are young to either keep focus, stay focused, let alone try to keep a season alive. And if the offense can only put up 20 points a game, how many times can a Robert Saleh defense hold the opposing teams to 18 points? It's really hard. It's a big task. Maybe you're right, Big Smooth. Maybe it happens. In fact, I hope you're right. When San Francisco wins, me and Grandy are out there cheering, saying, Super Bowl, here we come. But after a loss like this, it's a little hard to buy into what this team can do the rest of the season.
Yeah, I hope you're right as well, Big Smooth. All right, we got to hit a break. When we come back, more of your calls, plus Shanahan's full post-game comments. If you're just joining us, Niners lose in Tampa 30-19, and Fred Warner, dislocated and broken ankle, will undergo surgery. His season is over. That's the bullet points. We will hear Shanahan in detail coming up next as overtime continues. Grandy and Sterling with you. More OT next on 95.7 The Game.
Let's go!
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
This is Larry Flick, owner of The Floor Store. Our fall sale is on now, and it's big. Up to 50% off store-wide, 0% financing for 2 years, and we pay your sales tax. Go to floorstores.com for directions. The Floor Store, your Bay Area flooring authority.
Hi, I'm Dustin, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. I know finding a dream engagement ring can be overwhelming, but don't worry, we got you. As director of diamond sourcing, it's my job to make sure every single diamond at Shane Company is truly the best of the best. Our team travels the world to see diamonds up close, in person. We handpick each one for its unique fire, brilliance, and scintillation. Diamond buying is an art. Of course, we look at cut, color, clarity, and carat, known as the 4 C's. But that's not all. We also look at how each diamond looks on a hand, where it will be worn, how it makes you feel, and if it's worthy of a Shane Company customer. That type of expertise only comes from working for a company that's been a family business since 1929. We also think about your budget. We only pick the best in each grade in all shapes and sizes. Your diamond is guaranteed to be the most beautiful because a friend wants you to pick from only the best. Drop by your store or shaneco.com and see for yourself. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-351-4596. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-351-4596. 800-351-4596. 800-351-4596.
Comcast Business can help turn your small business into a connected, secure, modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. How healthcare offices become the data-protecting caregivers that we all depend on. And how wealth management firms become cyber-securing guardians of your information. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, and Wi-Fi backup, your business can stay connected and get threat-ready with Comcast Business. Powering possibilities.
Now through November 16th, new Comcast Business customers can get started with 150 megabit internet plus security for $59.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Plus, Ask how to get a $500 prepaid card on a qualifying gig package. Call today. Restrictions apply. Requires enrollment in paperless billing and auto pay with bank account. Early termination fee applies. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM in HD1 San Francisco on Odyssey Sports Station. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube. Powered by First NorCal Credit Union.
They're kind of put off with all the talk about no rush touchdowns. They're ready to end that. Here goes McCaffrey. There it is. Touchdown, San Francisco.
Now back to overtime. Instant reaction to the game with Mark Grandy and Sterling Bennett. We are the Bay Area's football station. 95.7 The Game.
Yeah, welcome back. That was CBS. Niners on CBS today at Tampa in the late window here on 95.7 The Game today. Niners lose. Final score 30-19. Tampa gets the win. They're 5-1. They're the 1 seed in the NFC now. Niners 4-2. They fall down just a bit. Second loss of the year for the Niners in their first 6 games. That highlight you heard was the Christian McCaffrey 1-yard touchdown run that actually gave them a lead, 10-7 early in the second quarter. It was the first rushing touchdown of the year, not just for McCaffrey, but for the 49ers as a team. It came on their 148th rushing attempt of the season. Niners' first rushing touchdown. Wild there. But the big news for the Niners, even in the face of the loss, they lose Fred Warner, all-pro linebacker Fred Warner, a dislocated and broken ankle. He will undergo surgery. The surgery is in all likelihood going to be season-ending. We will hear from Kyle Shanahan for more details in just a sec. But as promised, up next is Adam in Marin. Adam has been very patient. We appreciate it. Adam, you're on Overtime with Sterling and Grandy. What's up?
What's up, gentlemen? How we doing?
Not great, Adam.
Hey,
what about you?
Terrible.
Yeah, it's a tough day. I mean, look, to all the fans out there, I hope we had fun watching the last 6 weeks, but the Niners are cooked. I mean, you cannot have these devastating injuries to 7 of your 10 top best players. Warner's just such a crucial piece of the defense. I mean, Shanahan's been doing what he can to scheme, to work around the injuries, but I think the Niners season is more or less done. And it's going to be a travesty because they had something going early, but you just, I think you put it best earlier. There's a curse, there's something. I mean, the grounds, whatever it might be, but the injuries are just absolutely devastating. But really what I wanted to talk to you guys about was this. Joe Flacco, has there ever been a quarterback traded on 5 days' notice to start the next week for another team? And really what I want to know is this. Is the football so simple that a quarterback can simply go to another team like Flacco and kind of show out and be competitive against the great Green Bay Packers team? Because we make all kinds of excuses for new players, for quarterbacks going to a new offensive scheme, having, changing offensive coordinators all the time. Flacco comes in 4 or 5 days and is competitive and showing out. What's going on there? I'm just curious what your guys' thoughts are. I mean, is Flacco? He's no brilliant offensive mind. Obviously, he's been in the league a long time. But how can a quarterback go to another team on 5 days' notice and play a competitive NFL game against a great Green Bay Packers team?
Appreciate the call, Adam. I think in that specific instance, and we'll get back to Niners specific stuff in a sec. I think in the Flacco instance, Sterling, you have a couple of things working for him. One, he is as veteran as quarterbacks come in the NFL. He has seen everything. And the Browns offense, say, isn't as difficult as maybe a Kyle Shanahan offense. Like it's there are differences there, and also even if you are the most difficult offense or the easiest offense to understand from a quarterback perspective, week one with a new guy with only a few days to prep, you don't have access to the full playbook. You are dumbing things down and you're keeping things simple as much as possible in order to let that guy have the time to figure things out. So that's how I would answer it. It's easier for Flacco because he's been around the block for quite a long time. It's not the most difficult offense, and they dumbed down the playbook just a little bit for this week at least.
Yeah, welcome back to Cincinnati Bengals postgame show here, 95.7 The Game.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, it's a good question because I think what also goes into this is the fact that Kevin Stefanski out there calling plays in Cleveland. Yes, Joe Flacco gets traded to the Bengals. The playbook is much more simplified for him, but also Stefanski runs that Shanahan outside zone offense, and so does Zach Taylor in Cincinnati, albeit they're more drop back passing because Joe Burrow, but they know what they want to do out there. Zach Taylor was, I think, the OC with the Rams a couple years ago before he got the head coaching job, so it's not as if you're plucking a guy from, let's say, the New York Jets offense and saying, hey, go play in a Shanahan scheme. It's a very similar offense. It also helps to be able to throw Jamar Chase 13 screen passes a game and say, yippee, I'm successful. And look, Joe Flacco's been playing for what seems like 35 years now, longer than my lifetime, it feels like. But just a vet, knows what he's doing. He's seen it all, done it all, so it makes it a lot easier. Now, if you traded for, let's say, somebody like Adrian Martinez, you're going to have an uphill climb to figure that out. But Joe Flacco makes things a lot easier for any offense when he's plucked over a week via trade.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, 888-957-9570. Line them up if you want to weigh in. Steven, I see you. We'll get to you in just a sec. But first, we got to hear from Kyle Shanahan, who addressed the media post-game in Tampa Bay. Niners lose by a final score of 30-19. They're now 4-2 on the season. But arguably more important, and not arguable, I think it is definitely more important in a bad way. They also lose Fred Warner, all-pro linebacker with a broken and fractured ankle. He will need surgery, and his season, in all likelihood, is over. Here's Kyle Shanahan post-game addressing the media. You will hear him talk about Fred Warner.
All right, guys. Now, the injuries we have for now, Fred Warner obviously had his ankle, didn't return. And D-Rob had an oblique. He did return. Go ahead. Dislocated. I think it broke too. So we'll end up having surgery. Yeah. I mean, it's big. I mean, anytime you lose one of your best players, also a huge leader. So obviously a huge blow. Feel bad for Fred right now. He was in good spirits, though. He's got a good foundation, and but got a lot of faith in Tatum, and he's the next man up, and he's going to have to do it throughout the year. Just intense competitive conversation between two people, and at the end of the second quarter, but we were good.
The interceptions back through the start game and finish kind of the offense was sputtered throughout the game. How did Mac play?
I thought Mac did a pretty good job. I thought that last turnover, the last pick was a tough one. On the first one on the game, we were hot on a blitz, and we didn't get the right side adjustment. He's got to throw that, and we had a bust on the route. I don't put that one on him. Thought he did some good things today, but nothing on him. It was on everyone collectively. Made too many mistakes offensively, defensively. Just not good enough.
What was the thought process going forward off the 6th field?
When we were down 8, just thought we needed a touchdown and a 2-point to even tie it up, and didn't think there'd be enough time there to get another deal and to stop them. Sorry, I missed the beginning. I mean, it's an NFL game. You got to move on. I'm sure they're crushed for him, and everyone, not just the linebackers, but everyone on our team feels for Fred. But that's football. You saw how emotional everyone was when they saw him down on both sides. But once that's over, everyone's got a job to do, and you got to finish it off, and everyone does that, and then you deal with that stuff after the game.
Where's Juwan at top 5? He's fighting through injuries and whatnot, and back to try his best to get some reps on credit. Is it a matter of pain tolerance or how does House become?
What's the exact question?
Juwan Jennings.
Yeah.
The injury,
Yeah, bad ankle, some issues with his ribs. Hasn't had some full speed practices. I was pumped that he was able to go today, but now he's struggling to go every week right now.
Is Fred in the locker room still? Or?
Yeah, he was in the locker room. Yeah.
Was it with him at halftime, or was it just kind of?
No, we all just talked to him now. He talked to the team for a little bit when broke us down. But yeah, nothing at halftime. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, of course, everyone knows it's difficult. So when you lose your better players and stuff and your leaders, it's tough. It's huge with Nick, obviously huge with Fred. Hopefully we'll get Kittle back here and some of the other guys. But, I mean, that's going to give opportunities to other guys. And these are moments guys got to step it up. And I'm glad that we played some decent football to put us in this position, at least with a record. And we got to find a way to get better everywhere else throughout this year.
What did you see in that first touchdown catch line where Cameron Johnson
the one open down the sideline, we had a bust on the motion. Someone dropped him, and that's why he was all alone.
What about the touchdown down the middle of the field?
Down the middle, single safety. Baker looked him off and threw a post, and shouldn't be able to give up a post in single safety. And our middle third guy got out of position. Baker made a hell of a play.
All right, that's Kyle Shanahan postgame in Tampa after the 49ers lose to the Buccaneers 30-19. You heard him there off the jump talk about injuries. Fred Warner, of course, most notable. Broken and fractured ankle, will undergo surgery. He stuck around in the locker room after the game and broke down the team post-game. But that's the last time he's probably going to walk onto a football field this year for the 49ers. His season is in all likelihood over as he undergoes surgery for that ankle injury. Also notable that Kyle Shanahan talked about Juwan Jennings' injury, just as Juwan Jennings said. It seems surprising that he even played based on what Kyle Shanahan had to say. Man, that was a short and sweet Kyle Shanahan, Sterling, and it's very easy to understand why.
Kyle is not a liar in that when he's angry, when he's upset, when he feels the pressure start mounting. The three guys this team paid this offseason, one of them's going to be out for the season, and two of them haven't played, essentially, since week number 1. Brock came back against Jacksonville, but he got hurt immediately after.
Yeah.
The three guys they gave the second highest paid tight end money, highest paid linebacker money, and one of the highest paid quarterbacks in football. They ain't played much. Now, Fred's played great football, but you're not going to see him for the next, 11-plus weeks or so.
Well, I mean, go even further, Sterling. The guy that they paid at that time record-breaking money to 2 years ago, Nick Bosa, is out for the year. The guy that they paid big money to last year, Brandon Ayuk, hasn't played yet and will not play for at least another 4 weeks, probably.
Yeah, it's just, you cannot, no matter who you are, doesn't matter, you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you're San Francisco 49ers, doesn't matter. You cannot have your highest paid stars off the football field due to injury year in, year out, and expect to win games, where it almost makes years like 2021 and 22 and 23 feel like these miraculous, how they do that, oh my goodness, were they blessed and not cursed those years, and they happen to lose the Super Bowl one of those years. It just feels like no matter how healthy they are into the offseason, don't forget, Mark, the Thursday or the Wednesday leading into week 1, what was the reports? All 53 men are healthy. No one's hurt.
They had the disastrous preseason. Disastrous preseason health-wise, but everyone was healthy come week 1, and then it's just all gone downhill immediately after that since, Sterling.
And look, it doesn't mean they can't overcome it. It just means the job gets harder in a job that was already really hard, knowing how young you are, knowing how unproven you are. And, going back to Big Smooth's comments, he hopes and he believes the young defense can come to fruition and look really good down the stretch. I love Micah Williams. I love Alfred Collins. I hope West and Nick Martin and Siegel come along with those guys in their growth in year 1, and I think they can. However, it's not that simple. We can all hope. I hope San Francisco gets healthy. The odds are it's not going to happen, and it just stinks. And I think for Niner fans, if you want that sliver of hope and you want that, the silver lining in this, you're still in first place. It's why winning tight games against Seattle and the Rams and the Cardinals matter after losing a game like this. And you're on the road. You had 10 days off, and maybe you come back home against, I believe, the Falcons and get a win and get back in your home and everything. Maybe Purdy comes back and Kittle comes back, and we're all sitting here like, you know what? Yeah, losing Fred sucks, but there is a way to still win a lot of football games this year. But to hear the head coach that short that bittersweet, it does certainly set the tone for the mood going forward for this Niners season.
Yeah, absolutely. It's overtime here on 95.7 The Game. Niners fall to the Bucs 30-19 down in Tampa. They're now 4-2. They also lose All-Pro linebacker Fred Warner to what's in all likelihood going to be a season-ending ankle injury. 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. Up next is Steven in Las Vegas. Steven, what's up? You're on overtime with Grandy and Sterling. What do you got?
Hey, guys. Definitely a tough loss, especially losing Fred. But I don't remember which one, but when you guys asked, do we think having Purdy, Kittle, then will make a difference? And so I've been thinking about it, and I definitely do. This game, to me, legitimized a lot of the arguments I've been having with people on Facebook about, like, Purdy, especially people say, oh, the only thing he has is that mobility. But especially behind this line, that mobility is the game changer for us. The defense has to play us different because they have to worry about him scrambling, getting the first down themselves. And if we have Purdy with Kittle and McCaffrey and Tunja do some of these, two tight end packages, that's going to be scary with his scrambling ability. That's what buys time for our guys to go open because we don't really have that burner. So having Purdy back, thank you, Mac Jones, all you've done. You are a great backup, but there is a reason he's a backup. He deserves to be a starter, but behind this line, he will get killed because he is a statue. So I have confidence going forward. If you gave Purdy Mr. Moneybags, Mr. Dinero last season, we probably won a lot more games because those games were really close and came down to some of those field goals. So give me Purdy with McCaffrey playing good, Kittle healthy, Mr. Dinero kicking, and Tanja's coming out. I think this team can go far. So thanks, guys. Keep the faith.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Steven. I do think, Sterling, the skill set that Brock Purdy brings with his legs, it only gets magnified in a game like today when the offensive line struggles. There's no doubt. And that is the biggest difference between Brock and Mac. As a thrower of the football, as a processor, and in general, their limitations as passers seem somewhat similar. But when you have an offensive line that is struggling as bad as the Niners is, and just frankly is as bad as the Niners is, and as bad as they were today, it's almost impossible for you to be effective offensively unless your quarterback can extend plays and can make plays work with his legs. That's what Brock can do. Mac absolutely cannot do that.
Well, it goes to show you that just the way this team has gone about team building just doesn't work at times. They've won a lot of games, but the biggest detriment of all their big game losses has been the interior offensive line. Daniel Brunskill, Mike Person, Spencer Burford, John Feliciano gets hurt. And now this year you're having not just one guy play bad. All three guys aren't playing good football. And that's why you can't run the football. It's why you can't pass the football. There's no excuse as to why Mac Jones was sacked 6 times today. That just can't happen. Now, some of that is because Mac can't run at all. He's rather immobile. And he's hurt, too, on top of that, so he's less mobile than he would be if he was fully healthy. So it creates a further problem, but can we table the quarterback controversy talk now? I know fans get all hyped of, oh, this guy can do it with the backups.
Mac didn't have his best game and threw 2 interceptions and put the ball on the deck.
A lot, twice. He fumbled twice and threw 2 picks.
You think that's more on Mac or more on the pressure specifically?
It's a little bit of both. Mac made some bad decisions. The first pick, there was clear miscommunication there between him and Kendrick Bourne.
Kendrick Bourne on the sideline said, that's my fault. And then the second interception was on a 4th down. It's a turnover if you don't throw it anyway. So, both of those interceptions to me don't feel like inexcusable. And the fumbles, rough, but it's also the offensive line that we're talking about. For the most part, I thought Mac was fine. He was not the reason the Niners lost this game, in my opinion, Sterling. Now, was he amazing? No, but we're also talking about a guy that threw for 350 yards.
Right, and I think that's the bigger thing, where, no, it was not Mac Jones solely who was at fault. There was some mistakes of his, but overall played a rather fine game and good enough to win game, but you can't have your kicker riding on 13 points a game. Scored 14 against the Rams. Scored 13 today against the Buccaneers. You can't have your kicker making 13 plus points a game and expecting to win unless you're winning 9-6 or 13-12 every single week. It's not going to happen. But I don't think Mac was the big reason. But I do think that despite us seeing the strengths of a Mac Jones-led offense against the Saints and against the Rams last week, especially on Thursday Night Football, that was all just short pass, all in between the numbers.
It was.
Rams playing soft off-zone coverage. It's not to say they didn't win the game and Mac didn't play great, but sometimes there's reasons. And it isn't always, Mac played great. It's the defense wasn't doing their job either. And it takes a quarterbacking to take advantage of that, but we've seen over and over again that a bad offensive line can be elevated by the quarterback, and Mac Jones isn't that kind of guy that can do that unless the ball is out in 2 seconds at a time. Whereas Purdy gives you time to run around, make a play, scramble, at least buy some time. Even when Mac tried to do so, it was right into the teeth of Vita Vea, Diaby, or whoever else is on the Buccaneers defensive line. So I think it's time that Niner fans, and even ourselves, don't get caught up in the moment of, the quarterback played great against the Rams, that might be the guy. It's like, wait a minute. Maybe there's a reason he cooked the Rams in overtime and throughout 4 quarters, and the reason why the Buccaneers, who are an aggressive defense, got 2 takeaways and made him fumble twice, whereas Brock, who's done it before, might fare better against the Buccaneers defense, who he's beat a handful of times already, including last year when his kicker missed 3 field goals.
Well, I mean, we can be honest about what the Rams game was as well. The Rams game was the offense was amazing to begin. I think a lot of it was an immaculate game plan by Kyle Shanahan and Mac Jones executing it to perfection. And then the second half largely was pretty ugly offensively. And I would say culprit number 1 for that being ugly was the offensive line. I don't think Mac suddenly stopped being able to throw the ball. Like, it was the offensive line not being able to hold up for a short amount of time. Not as if we're asking them to pass block for 5 seconds. This is quick offense all of the time, and they were not able to hold up. So I don't know. This to me doesn't really change anything in my mind in terms of Mac versus Brock. Now, I was never on the train that this was a legitimate quarterback controversy to begin with, but I don't see this game and say, see, I was right, Mac sucks. No, that was not what this game was to me at all. I thought Mac was fine, and the interceptions were circumstantial. The first one was probably Kendrick Bourne's fault. Kendrick Bourne stopped his route and kind of, in fact, cut to the inside. Mac was expecting it to be an out route, and he threw it to where he expected the receiver to go, which, by the way, is the case for literally 100% of throws quarterbacks make, and that was just one of the few instances where he was not on the same page with his receiver. And the other interception was on a 4th and 6, after a Dominic Pooney false start, by the way, took away a 4th and inches, and you got to throw it somewhere. Nobody's open. Mac was rolling left. Pressure got to him. You got to throw it. It's a turnover if you take a sack, so you throw it. You cross your fingers. Maybe you get lucky. Turn into an interception. By the way, that was actually better than taking the sack because the ball would have been further back off the interception, but then Trent Williams decked a dude after the play and got called for a 15-yard penalty anyway. So the field position ended up not really mattering at all. But to me, this was not, that was on Mac Jones today, and the Niners win with Brock. No, they probably lose this game regardless. Brock does, though, have the ability to extend plays and make things work with his legs. We can get to more on that, Sterling, when we come back. Plus, we got to talk about what Fred Warner's absence really means. I think we can see this on a couple of plays in the second half, Sterling, that we can get to. Plus, more calls. I see a Brandon and I see a Brian. We'll get to you when we come back. It's overtime here on 95.7 The Game. Grandy and Sterling with you for another hour. Then we've got Warriors preseason basketball versus the Lakers in LA coming up at 6:30 here on 95.7 The Game. More OT coming up next.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-507-9701. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-507-9701. That's 800-507-9701. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Did you know that most people wait 6 or 7 years before they buy a new TV? That's a lot of time in front of one TV. So why not get one of the best sets for the next 7 years, like one of the top-rated Samsung, LG, or Sony models? Too expensive? What if you could get up to $1,000 trade-in for your old set? Who would do a stupid deal like this? Right now, at Video Only, you can get big bucks for your old set as a trade-in and a hot price on the new models. Don't be sorry. Check out Video Only.
We finally switched to T-Mobile because with them, we can be connected here and there.
¡Listos todos! Estas son las mañanas.
Now we just need to harmonize.
Switch today. Get 4 Samsung Galaxy S25 phones with Galaxy AI. Plus, get 4 lines for just $25 per line. Visit a store, T-Mobile.com, or call 1-800-T-Mobile. 1-800-T-Mobile. For well-qualified customers with autopay plus tax and fees and $35 per line connection charge. Minimum 4 lines on plan. Contact us if canceling lines. Plus $5 per line without autopay. Debit or bank account required. Visit T-Mobile.com.
Do you often worry you left the garage door open? With a LiftMaster garage door opener powered by MyQ, you'll never worry again. You can control, secure, and monitor your garage from your smartphone anytime, from anywhere through the MyQ app. As an authorized LiftMaster dealer, Ace's Garage Door Repair and Installation has smart openers designed for your needs, including belt drive motors for ultra-quiet operation, integrated camera for live video, streaming, and battery backup to let you in when the power is out. Trust Ace's Garage Door Repair and Installation for top-notch service and unbeatable reliability. Whether you need a quick fix, a complete replacement, or a brand new installation for your garage door or garage door opener, our skilled technicians are here to get the job done right. With competitive prices, a commitment to quality, and diamond certification, Aces has you covered. Call today at 855-588-2237 or visit acegd.com. That's acegd.com. Aces Garage Door Repair and Installation, where your garage door is our priority.
Donate your home, land, or commercial property and help Stand Up to Cancer fund innovative cancer research. Stand Up to Cancer makes the process easy and it may be tax deductible. Visit standuptocancer.org/giveproperty to learn more.
Drowning in IRS debt? If you can't afford to pay your IRS debt due to economic hardship, you can now be free of IRS collection efforts by taking advantage of a special IRS tax hardship program. This program allows Americans who owe the IRS to resolve their delinquent tax debt once and for all. In some cases, maybe even reducing what you owe significantly. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Simply dial 800-485-7220. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back or have years of unfiled tax returns, help is standing by. Just call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-485-7220 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-485-7220 to see if you qualify. That's 800-485-7220.
So we have an injury.
It's a Niner defender down. And it's Fred Warner.
Oh, no. Oh.
I mean, it's big. I mean, anytime you lose one of your best players, also a huge leader. So obviously a huge blow. Feel bad for Fred right now. He was in good spirits, though. He's got a good foundation, and got a lot of faith in Tatum, and he's the next man up, and he's going to have to do it throughout the year.
Now back to Overtime. Instant reaction to the game with Mark Grandy and Sterling Bennett. We are the Bay Area's football station. Hey. 95.7 The Game.
Yeah, that was Jim Nantz, Tony Romo on CBS, and then you heard Kyle Shanahan talking about the Fred Warner injury afterwards. Football, Sterling, and welcome back. It's Overtime on 95.7 The Game. I'm Grandy, that's Sterling. Football is one of those sports, Sterling, where you hear the broadcaster say, oh, and there's an injury on the field before the video even cuts to who the injured player is, where you just like immediately think, like when you hear, oh, there's an injured player, first you think, please God, don't be a Niner. And then you hear them say, oh, it's a Niner. And then you say, oh, please God, don't be Fred Warner. And it happened to be Fred Warner, and it's just where multiple times in a row you lose those coin flip battles in your own head. At least that's the way that my mind works, Sterling. And once you find out that it's Fred Warner, your heart just sinks. And that's what's happened to Niner fans all over the place when that news happened.
There's been so many injuries really since 2019, 2020, where whenever they say injury on the field and they go, it's a San Francisco 49er, I go, really? You think? Like, who else is it going to be?
You could have just guessed and you would have been right.
Team.
Yeah.
When of course, your mind starts to go to bad places of like, let it be somebody else, not Fred Warner, right? Which isn't great to think that way, but that's the way we do because Fred is so important to the team. And I think there are some injuries you can overcome, right? You can lose an edge rusher, albeit not Nick Bosa, and find a way to win. Like, you lose Bryce Huff, it would suck, but you could probably still find a way to win.
Yeah.
There just aren't a lot of guys that are replaceable, and Fred is not one of those players. He's one of one. He's the greatest coverage linebacker of the last, decade or so. There's conversations, and I'd probably be involved in that, to say Fred's the best linebacker in team history.
Yep.
Like, you don't just lose those guys and go, well, we'll get them next week. And I hate to say this, but I'm kind of getting tired of the next man up shouldn't be a problem. Like, no. Losing Fred's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's gonna be a problem all year long.
Shanahan has to say that. He doesn't believe it.
I get it.
He
knows.
knows.
Speak.
He knows there's going to be a major drop-off with Tatum Bethune. By the way, we're probably going to see Nick Martin make his NFL debut next week, would be my guess. Maybe. He's been inactive every week at this point. Draft pick rookie out of Oklahoma State. Maybe he's not going to be a starter. I wouldn't imagine it's going to be Tatum Bethune, but he's probably going to get some reps, I would imagine. At least he'll be active and play on special teams.
Oh, don't lie, Grandy. We're going to see Jalen Graham on the practice squad elevation next Sunday night against the Falcons.
Yeah. You don't believe that.
Hey, I don't believe anything right now. For all I know, Fred Warner comes back next Sunday and we're all saying, what happened?
Oh, God.
Wouldn't that be a miracle?
It would be a miracle.
Discriminate versus anyone.
That would be a miracle. There's no doubt about it. 888-957-9570. It's overtime here on 95.7 The Game. Out to the phones in 1 sec. I did want to clear something up, though, because coming up in an hour, a little less than an hour, by the way, we've got Warriors preseason basketball. They're down in L.A. taking on the Lakers. That game tips off just after 6:30, and we will give the air to the guys at 6:30. I did say earlier, I just assumed Tim Roy. Not Tim Roy. I have been corrected. Our guy Kevin Dana on the call.
You blew it, Randy. You blew it.
I'm making up for it now. So, Kev, I know you're listening right now. Looking forward to listening to you call some Warriors action coming up in an hour right here on 95.7 The Game. That's what we have to look forward to coming up at 6:30. But until then, back out to the phone lines we go. 888-957-9570. Brandon is in Las Vegas and wants to weigh in. Brandon, you're on overtime. What do you got?
What's up, guys? I would say happy Sunday, but after today's game, it's just Sunday. So
yep.
It's going to be a mopey Monday, I'll tell you that one, Brandon.
Man, it's going to be a muggy week, I'll tell you that. But we got to, move on to the next week and focus on whoever the hell we play. I don't even know who we play. But
Falcons.
I want to reiterate what you said, man. The Falcons.
Yep.
Oh man, I hope we bounce back.
Sunday night football versus the Falcons a week from now. Yep.
Man, I don't think it's going to be one of those boring games. I can guarantee. But what I want to say is, I mean, Mac Jones, he did well. 27 for 39, 347 yards. Yeah, you got the 2 interceptions. The first one, which was horrid, but miscommunication with KB. But I think the 49ers, it's just so hard to really kind of like have a for sure thought of what our season's going to look like, especially, with all the injuries that are going on right now, man. But I feel like the Niners are playing their heart out every game out there. I mean, these injuries, especially with Fred, is just devastating to me. I damn near was teary-eyed when I found out that Fred was going to be out, man. That's how much I care about our Niners. But man, I feel like a trade right now isn't something that the Niners should do at all. I mean, I feel like this offensive line that we had is atrocious. Like, I under the Kyle Shanahan era, I don't even recall us having a solid offensive line. If you guys can help me out here, but I feel like Kyle Shanahan, if you're listening, or someone from the Niners organization, clip this or something, but do not trade for anybody this season. I would say save your capital. If you make trades for some better higher draft picks. focus on O-line, please, for the love of God. Focus on an O-line this draft. If the Niners just get at least two O-lines, a guard, a left guard, something, because Puny and Brendel and Colby and dare I say Trent Williams is this. I feel like this unit minus our special teams is just not where it's at right now. Niners need to do something ASAP. They need to focus on this offensive line. We need help. Find somebody this upcoming season. Next season that's going to be free agents. Find someone that's whether if you can make a trade for a top offensive lineman, go ahead, please. But if it's not an O-line or for capital for an O-line, please don't do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Brandon, I appreciate the call. I think there's a lot of Niner fans that are in lockstep with you. I will say the Niners, I don't think the Niners have ever had like an offensive line that's legitimately a weapon and one of the best units in the NFL under Kyle Shanahan. Like they've never had an Eagles offensive line from last year. They've never had a Lions offensive line from last year or 2 years ago when that's like by far like the number one unit on that roster and they can just bludgeon teams. They have had average to above average offensive line, Sterling, and a big part of it was because that was when Trent Williams was still the best left tackle in the NFL. I think it's pretty easy to say he's not that anymore, and it's nothing against Trent. He is almost like one of the oldest offensive linemen in the NFL. This is natural, but when your guy that was the leader of that offensive line suddenly is no longer that all-pro guy anymore, and the rest of your guys are average at best, then it's going to be a below-average group because you don't have that one guy that can lead the way and be the elite difference maker at the most important position on the offensive line. They have had much better offensive line units than this. That, though, Sterling, is more about what this unit is as opposed to some of their past units, which, again, were better, but not like they were world beaters by any stretch.
Yeah, the best one was probably 2023, which is why they went to overtime in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
And really, it was a good offensive line besides the injury to Feliciano in the game itself. But this is how I imagine the draft room, the war room looking on draft day. First round all the way to round 7. First round pick comes by, hey, John, hey, Parag, hey, Kyle, maybe we should draft an offensive line. And John goes, really? Here's a wide receiver. Okay, round two. Okay, John, maybe now is where we go get a guard. And John goes, really?
You think this is John? You think this is led by John?
I'm more so just using him as an example. You can put the entire Niners front office in there, but it just feels like that there is this neglect of what every good football team needs. To run the ball, you got to have a good offensive line. To pass the ball, you have to protect your quarterback. For quarterback sneaks that you didn't get in this game, then your offensive guard false starts, you have to have a good offensive line. And so you just wonder if the entire game is built on trench warfare, whether it's defense or offense. They have the defensive side down. First round pick defensive end, 2019, and do it again this year and do it 3 more times throughout the entire draft. They understand that motto. However, on the offense, it's like we're gonna run out there with 17 nice and pricey wide receivers and get a tight end in George Kittle, and we're gonna draft 5 running backs and play 2 of them the entire game. One of them only on special teams, though, because we don't want to take Christian McCaffrey off the field. You know what would help? Just saying, you know what? We can have 2 good receivers. We can have 1 good tight end. We can have just 1 good running back, essentially, as long as you can open up space and holes for those guys to run. So we're in lockstep, Mark. The fans are in lockstep. Enough is enough. There is no excuse after watching the debacle that has been this offensive line this year and even last year and say, oh, you know what? We're good with Jake Brendel. We're good with the 7th round pick Connor Colby. Oh, no. We're talking 2nd round picks and 3rd round picks need to be invested in the offensive line because these guys are not going to survive if they don't.
Yeah, and the other thing is, and our caller, Brandon, said, well, don't make a trade unless it's for, like, a really good offensive lineman. Guess what? Really good offensive linemen don't get traded. They don't hit free agency. Like the Niners stealing Trent Williams from the time the Washington Commanders, the rarest occurrence in NFL history. An all-pro, legitimately one of the best offensive linemen to ever play the game, becoming available on the trade market for pennies on the dollar. It is not because the Niners were managed to wriggle their way in there and they were expert negotiators and all. No, it's because Washington at the time was the biggest dumpster fire in the NFL, and Trent Williams had a personal, really strong vendetta against that entire organization. Those situations are not born on trees. The Niners lucked out, and they took advantage, and it was a great move, a legitimately great move. Their all-pro left tackle, Joe Staley, fresh off a Super Bowl trip, retired, and the Niners got better. Like, that was an amazing move. An amazing move. But ever since that moment, and by the way, it's not as if they plunged a ton of resources other than money into Trent Williams. That was a trade that didn't really cost them all that much. Other than that, I cannot think of a moment, Sterling, where the Niners have really used meaningful resources in their offensive line. And honestly, part of the reason why is they probably felt like, well, we have Trent Williams. We're good. We can get away with average at best elsewhere. The reality now is Trent Williams cannot carry that group. So you have to kind of kick your like, because the Niners kind of cheated by getting Trent Williams. You can no longer rely on that cheat. Like, you have to do this straight up and use high-value draft picks to get a guy. Why do the Lions have the best offensive line in football, or one of the best? Maybe not this year because they've had some injuries and some retirements. Because they drafted Penei Sewell in the top 10 of the draft a handful of years ago, and he's now the best tackle in the NFL, or one of the best, and is paid as a result. Those best guys do not become available. Don't count on them becoming available. The only way to get really good offensive linemen is to draft them and then sign them. That's about it, Sterling.
And it makes it harder, too, because you have to hit. And let's be honest here, Grandy. Through 2 years of Dominic Pooney, had a great year last year. Maybe he's hurt now, but that's a question mark. Now, maybe he can turn things around and we sit back here and at the end of 2025 and say, you know what, Dominic Pooney figured things out in year 2. He was banged up early, got somewhat healthier later, and he looks fine. There was a clear excuse built in there. However, to your point, they haven't addressed the offensive line much or poured a lot of draft picks or money into it besides Trent Williams. The other guy they drafted inside of day 2 was Aaron Banks. He was gone after 4 years. Now, he signed a 4-year, $72 million contract, and he's not even worth that. But still, the fact that you're letting or you're drafting guys that are gone after 4 years and you're pricing yourself out for sure, but the guys you're drafting are leaving. But it's not even like you're keeping the guys you're drafting.
That's also the point, Sterling. Like, the Niners have finite money to spend, and I would not have recommended signing Aaron Banks to that deal.
No.
Like, I would not have recommended it. But if that is what the market is, Sterling, if that's what the market is, then you can't rely on free agency. You can't, because one, the guys that are available are not the all-pros.
Yeah.
And they're getting overpaid. So your only realistic solution is to every year draft dudes. Let Aaron Banks walk, but then guess what? Like when Laken Tomlinson left in free agency, you have Aaron Banks to replace him. Have the guy, relatively high-drafted guy that you believe in already. And that's, I think, where the Niners have failed. It is planning 2 years ahead of time, expecting X, Y, and Z player to leave in free agency for too much money, for too rich for your blood, but have the replacement plan in place. Not a replacement plan like a Ben Barch and a Connor Colby. Having somebody who you actually can believe in, Sterling, and they haven't had that. And it's on Kyle and it's on John. I'm sorry. It's on those two because they are the two major decision makers. And I think, frankly, for years now, they have failed in that regard.
We'll just go through the offensive line right now, right? You have Trent, former first-round draft pick, but he's 36 years old. You got him for a bargain because the Commanders, or at the time, the Washington football team, mishandled his cancerous tumor diagnosis. It took a literal cancer diagnosis to make him say, get me out of here. Your left guard, that being Ben Barch, is hurt currently, but probably better than Connor Colby. late-round draft pick from the Jaguars on their practice squad, and you poached him. Connor Colby, a 7th-round draft pick this year. The expectations aren't too high for them. Jake Brendel was a UDFA from the Dolphins you brought in to back up Alex Mack. I mean, Alex Mack was phenomenal for a year, but the UDFA guy is your replacement. Now, Brendel was fine in 2022, but usually you're a UDFA for a reason. You don't find diamonds in the rough very often in those situations. Okay, Pooney's a 3rd-round pick. McKivitz is a 5th-round guy. But you can go back to even better Niner teams. Laken Tomlinson, I think it was a 7th-round draft pick or a failed 3rd-round draft pick received for a 7th-round draft pick via trade of the Detroit Lions. It's not as if even when this offensive line was good, and back to your point, they were pouring resources into it. It's been simply, hey, Joe Staley, carry us. Hey, Trent Williams, carry us. Now, it's been McGlinchey, who's now gone. It's Banks, who's now gone. And I'm not going to lie to you, Mark, we're 2 years into Pooney. If he plays good, he going to be gone too.
Yeah.
So it's like this team has to find a way in this next year's draft. And look, it's week 6. I ain't looking ahead to next April, but you can clearly see there is a massive deficiency on this team, and it's holding it back, and it has for a long time, and it starts up front. And until Kyle and John and Jed and Parag realize that and say, you know what, we should probably change our thought process of the draft and draft 2 or 3 guys and say, hey, let's get some bodies in the building, nothing's going to change. So the offensive line must be addressed, and it's not going to, you can't change it this year, and that's the biggest issue. You can't replace Fred. That sucks. You can't replace Bosa. But if you had a adequate offensive line, I'd feel much more better about losing Fred and Nick, knowing that you can actually move the football offensively and score some points in the red zone. But you pair that with losing Fred and Nick, and it's just like, ugh, yikes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not fun sometimes.
I agree. 888-957-9570. We're with you until 6:30, and then we hand things off to Kevin Dana and company down in L.A. They have the call of Warriors versus the Lakers preseason basketball coming up at 6:30. Until then, overtime, though, here on 95.7 The Game. And up next on the phone lines is Brian in Palo Alto. It's BPA. What's up, Brian? You're on with Sterling and Grandy on overtime. What do you got?
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Doing all right, Brian. What about you?
I agree with good. Kyle and John, I thought they really focused on the defensive line in this last draft, and I think it's been pretty successful. I really like the young guys on their defensive line. But for sure they're going to need to draft on the offensive line next year, and I would assume that they will.
Yeah, I don't think it was a failure, Brian, of this year's draft. This was a failure, in my opinion, of 3 years ago, 2 years ago, not seeing the writing on the wall for the rest of the offensive line group.
Well, Brian, what gives you that assumption that they will? Because the last couple of drafts, they haven't. So why should we buy into the idea that John and Kyle are going to finally turn their heads around and say, you know what, we should do this? Try to sell me on this, please.
Because this was, I thought, the first draft, this last one, where they said, we need to replace a lot of our high-priced talent or aging talent with young guys, and that's going to be truly part of our roster building strategy moving forward. And they focused on the defensive line. I think they hit on at least 2 of those guys. I like Michael. I like Alfred. I think West will also be pretty good. And then I think offensive line would be an obvious place. But, look, what Mac has been this year in the games he's played is better than anything we had from Brock last year at any point. Okay, so to think that Brock, with no receivers, no tight end, no running game today, was going to have a better outcome than Mac. I think Mac Jones kept us in the game. He was probably our best player on offense. And so I get it. Brock's the starter because Brock has a massive contract. Brock has underplayed. I mean, last year he was disappointing. So far this year, what we've seen disappointing. So there needs to be a level from Brock that we've not seen since the Super Bowl year. And I don't know. I don't have a ton of confidence we're going to find it, but that's just my 2 cents. Hey, guys, have a great day.
Appreciate the call, Brian. Interesting. I mean, there's no doubt that Brock had a down year last year, and particularly some really, really rough games. And through 2 games this year is turning the ball over as often as he's, scoring touchdowns. Second game that he played, he was clearly hampered by that toe. And in the first game he played, he led them to a game-winning touchdown drive in the fourth quarter against a really good Seattle team, by the way, on the road up in Seattle. So it's some good, but some bad. And, I mean, it's hard to argue, Sterling, for me, over the course of last year and so far this year, that's a season's worth of games for Brock Purdy, that he's been better than Mac Jones. Now, Mac is doing it in a 4-game sample size, which is much, much, much smaller. And you play Mac over the course of 17 games with this offensive line, it might get pretty ugly pretty quick. Again, I'm not here to say that I think Mac should start when Brock Purdy is healthy, because I in my heart of hearts, do not feel that way. But I think there's truth to what Brian is saying, which is just Brock last year versus Mac in 4 games this year. I think Mac has performed better. That does not mean that Brock Purdy is a worse quarterback than Mac Jones.
That's some heat there, Mark.
Is that wrong?
I mean, look, this year I think you're for sure correct, but I think let's be honest. Can we remember much of last year? I think we all kind of washed it away after how bad it was.
That's fair.
But I do think that we forget the nitty-gritty, right? You can look at some of the games they lost last season. Obviously, there were some pretty bad ones, games against the Packers and the Bills, and just real stinkers that put a stain on the season. Brock didn't even play in the season finale, but they had the Rams beat. He didn't blow that game. Had Jordan Mason not fumbled the football against the Cardinals early, they win that game probably. Now, we don't know that, but it certainly seemed that way before it happened. So I think, yes, Mac Jones has played very, very well. He's been a big reason the Niners have won games. I mean, we talked about it last Thursday. Like, you can't have a quarterback drop back 40 times a game and expect to win. And Mac Jones has done that 3 times, essentially, this year for this team. And you wouldn't want Brock to do that. You wouldn't want any quarterback unless they are the elite guys to do that. So you have to give Mac credit. But maybe it's just me, and I think that Brock last season, who wasn't great either, but I do think there was some games that we could look back and say, you know what, Brock was playing superhuman level of quarterbacking, and the team was he was throwing to Ronnie Bell. I'm sorry, Kendrick Bourne is better than Ronnie Bell.
Mac Jones is throwing Mac Jones is throwing to MVS.
MVS is better than Ronnie Bell. Let's not forget that. And Eric Saubert, because Kittle missed time. Let's not forget. Yes, it's not been great. The Niners are depleted. Depleted. Last year's Brock Purdy would have prayed to every god that may exist or may not exist for Demarcus Robinson and Kendrick Bourne last season. Come on. He had a shot Pearsall and an injured Ayuk for out half the season.
Hey, Brock also threw to Kittle basically for all last year, and Mac has not Mac has not played a game with Kittle.
That's right, but also Mac Jones is at Christian McCaffrey, and Brock didn't have him at all last year.
True. That's
and
fair.
that is Mac Jones' favorite target.
But Mac Jones has also had a offensive line that can't keep him upright and also can't block, and as a result, they can't run the ball.
They couldn't run the ball last year either, Mark. That was the whole thing.
They could run it a little better than this.
I mean, you're right. 3 yards of carry is pretty piss poor, so we can be upfront about that. But let's not say that Mac Jones has been better than Brock Purdy over the last 2 years, which he may be, he may not be. But I wouldn't go that far, knowing. Let's not forget how bad 2024 is. That doesn't mean Mac Jones is playing bad football. In fact, I will go to bed at night saying, I'm pretty happy Mac Jones is this team's backup quarterback.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he's out there saving the day. Mac Jones has played great. And even today, the 3 turnovers weren't all his fault. We already talked about that. But I'm not going to go as far as to say Mac Jones is playing better than Brock Purdy through, 4 games this year than Purdy played last year and this year combined. Better this year for sure, but a lot we have forgotten of last season.
That's fair. That is fair. But through 4 games, Mac has been a whole lot better than I could have possibly asked for.
And also, don't forget, Brock was Jake Moody missing 5 field goals a game. If he had Pinheiro, they'd probably win 10 games last year.
I'm forgetting about wins. I'm not really thinking about wins and losses as like Brock decision making. We can talk a little bit more about this because I do think that there is a lesson that Brock can take from Mac Jones' success throwing the ball. And I think
100%.
I think he's got to implement some of what Mac is doing, and we can get into that when we come back. Plus, we can talk more about the Fred Warner injury. If you're just joining us, Niners lose to Tampa 30-19, and they lose Fred Warner. All-Pro Fred out for the season as he will undergo surgery on a broken and dislocated right ankle. Plus, we do have some sound that we'll get to from Mac Jones and from Christian McCaffrey. All that when we continue. We've got Warriors preseason basketball coming up with Kevin Dana at 6:30. Until then, it's Overtime with Sterling Bennett and Mark Randy right here on 95.7 The Game.
Tired of the same old night out? Head to Ghostwood Kitchen, your neighborhood spot for an incredible time. They take pride in their huge selection of in-house craft beer, innovative craft cocktails made with fresh ingredients, and full menu of delicious scratch-made food. From their smash burgers to their unique appetizers. Don't miss their special entertainment nights featuring Wednesday night trivia. On Friday and Saturday night, Ghost Hour is 50% off all drinks, 9 p.m. to close, and featuring a live DJ on Fridays. Find your vibe at Ghostwood Kitchen, 911 Main Street in Redwood City, and at Ghostwood.com.
Red and Gold Game Day starts at Laughing Monk Brewing. Park for free. Enjoy amazing food, ice-cold beer, and every game on TV. Catch 95.7 The Game's pregame show. Then hop on the free shuttle straight to the stadium. Sign up now at 957thegame.com.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Also that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Comcast Business can help turn your small business into a connected, secure, modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. How healthcare offices become the data-protecting caregivers that we all depend on. And how wealth management firms become cyber-securing guardians of your information. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, and Wi-Fi backup, your business can stay connected and get threat-ready with Comcast Business. Powering possibilities.
Now through November 16th, new Comcast Business customers can get started with 150 megabit internet plus security for $59.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Plus, ask how to get a $500 prepaid card on a qualifying gig package. Call today. Restrictions apply. Requires enrollment in paperless billing and auto-pay with bank account. Early termination fee applies. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra.
Attention, have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers, so don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-894-7722. That's 800-894-7722. Again, 800-894-7722.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free no-risk consultation. 800-323-8922. 800-323-8922. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-323-8922.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM in HD1 San Francisco on Odyssey Sports Station. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube. Powered by First NorCal Credit Union.
Of course, he's got Sterling Shepard out there, his old college teammate. But he's not going to have a chance. Oh, yes, he is. He fights through the sack. looking for first down yard. Oh, my goodness, he's done it again. Oh, that is pure Baker Mayfield. Absolute Baker at his best. He broke a couple of tackles. They had him for a sack. Then they had him at least 8 yards short of the first. He fought through them all.
Now back to Overtime. Instant reaction to the game with Mark Grandy and Sterling Bennett. We are the Bay Area's football station. 95.7 The Game.
That was Jim Nantz on CBS calling an amazing Baker Mayfield 15-yard scramble on 3rd and 14. Broke away from a sack of Trevis Gibson and Bryce Huff. Broke a couple other tackles. Juked a couple of others to get a 15-yard gain. Then 2 plays later, connected with Tez Johnson, 45 yards down the middle for a touchdown. Gave a little bit of a pump fake, stepped up in the pocket, got Marquise Siegel to bite on the pump fake, and Tez Johnson ran right past Marquise Siegel as a result. That was one thing, and welcome back. It's Overtime. Granny and Sterling with you. That was one thing, Sterling, that Kyle Shanahan was asked about postgame, that 45-yard touchdown to Tez Johnson, which ultimately kind of ended up deciding the game. What happened on that play? And he said, well, the defensive, set that we're in, our scheme, we shouldn't be able to get beat over the top like that. And that was a direct shot at Marquise Siegel. Got bit on the little shoulder fake by Baker and kept him, on the crosser in front of him with his eyes. And then the speedy Tez Johnson, a rookie, his first career NFL touchdown, ran right past Siegel. Great throw, great catch. And that kind of felt like the ball game right there, Sterling.
He hit him with the hezzy, and he bit on the butter. Like, it was over. It was like, dude had his hand up 5 yards out.
Yep.
Like, even Tez Johnson knew. But, look, young rookies playing on the back end of your defense isn't always going to work out in your favor. Siegel has made a lot of great plays, but coverage is not his strong suit. So hopefully they can figure things out this year. But I think I have come to terms with this loss, and there's 2 reasons for it, Grant.
Okay,
you ready?
tell me.
One, the Dallas Cowboys. It's Tony Romo's fault on the broadcast. His fault. The second one
Cowboys
is...
lost today. Embarrassing loss.
Hey, shout out Panthers. Bryce Young getting it done. The other one is, I don't know why I decided to fly to Oklahoma when San Francisco was going to be lined up across Baker Mayfield, Boomer Sooner this Sunday. Probably a bad decision on my end, but, look. Yeah. But here we are. So I will take a bit of the responsibility for this loss. I'm okay with that. So, Grandy, you can disavow me on the show afterwards, and maybe I'll have to miss a week of overtime, but we shall see how the show goes on.
Yeah, I'll blame you. I'm good with that. As long as I don't have to take any of the blame.
Don't blame the offensive line. Don't blame the loss of Fred Warner. Blame Sterling Bennett. You heard it here, folks, right
I'm in
here
on that.
On 95.7 The Game.
This is interesting. Did it sound like Trent Williams might be blaming Juwan Jennings or taking a shot at Juwan Jennings, Sterling? You have this in front of you? You want to share it?
We have some infighting,
if not,
folks.
I can if you don't have it.
Let me find it if I can really fast, Grandy, unless you have it in front of you.
I'll set it up for you. Juwan Jennings, we mentioned this off the top, but Juwan Jennings told the reporters post-game, I don't know what the question was, or maybe this was in general, like, hey, how you feeling? You've been dealing with injuries. He says, quote, or not a quote, but basically said he's playing with 5 broken ribs and both a high and low ankle sprain. He volunteered that information, Sterling, to reporters post-game after a 1-catch performance.
Yeah,
And
keep in mind...
And in a performance where he was barking with Kyle Shanahan, mostly doing the barking was Shanahan to Juwan Jennings, I would imagine for, I don't know, penalties, something like that, Juwan did not have a good game. Yeah.
Wanting the football, whatever it was, it doesn't look good, right? We talked earlier about you can see a fan seeing that and being like, there is some dysfunction going on.
Yeah.
Whether it's Juwan or from Kyle, it doesn't matter. However, we do have maybe some captain on a player that wants to get paid crime after the game, because Trent Williams was asked about Juwan Jennings, saying he has 5 broken ribs and the high-low ankle sprain, and the quote is, as I have in front of me, "We are all going through something. It's football. Not everybody's going through broken ribs and ankle sprains, but we are all going through something." I mean, Mac Jones just got a shot in his ribs. That is to play the game, and probably after the game too.
Yeah.
So to me, this is in some roundabout way of Trent Williams, who's 36 years old, been through it all, especially last season, pretty much telling Juwan Jennings, hey, buddy, keep your mouth shut. We're all hurt. We're all fighting through something. Shut up and play. Like, why are you out there divulging your injuries? We know you're hurt. You know you're hurt. You haven't practiced in 2 weeks. You haven't played in a week and a half. You ain't got to tell the media. Oh, you're playing through something? Guess what? So are the other 53 guys and the 46 guys active on Sundays. So this is Trent essentially saying, hey, you go over there and be quiet over there, Juwan. Just play, and we'll figure things out later.
Yeah, it's interesting. Everyone on that roster that plays meaningful and regular snaps probably does not feel close to 100%. Juwan maybe feels the worst of them all, but there is kind of like an unspoken rule in football locker rooms, and it probably goes for all professional sports locker rooms. Football, it's the most apparent, though, where it's I don't care if you got a broken leg. I don't care if you have a torn ACL. Phillip Rivers in an AFC Championship game playing on a torn ACL and threw like 2 or 3 interceptions and frankly was so bad the Chargers lost the game. But like you then don't go to the post-game locker room and say, I mean, I don't know what you wanted me to do. I'm playing on the torn ACL. And it's kind of unfair because if what he said is true, and I have no reason to believe that Juwan is lying, I would find it really, really difficult to play on 5 broken ribs and both a high and low ankle sprain. The point that I think most people in NFL locker rooms would say is, we know that about you. We appreciate that you went out there and played despite all of that. But when you say it out there in the public, it kind of sounds like you're making excuses, and we don't need to do that here.
Right, and look, the team would say, you got 1 catch for 7 yards. Your biggest plays of the game were net negatives for the offense. So, okay, yeah, you're hurt, man. Cool. Pooney could be playing hurt for all we know. We pretty much think he is.
Yep.
Trent got hurt in week 1 against Seattle. He hasn't missed a game since then. Your quarterback, who hasn't played for a couple of weeks, Brock Purdy, he came back hurt, then got re-injured. Your quarterback himself, like Trent Williams said, had a shot in his ribs, probably got a sick one after the game. He couldn't even throw at practice on Wednesday because of the oblique injury. So, yeah, look, Trent, I'm sure that conversation might be a private one they have of look, we get it. You're banged up. We get it. You're unhappy. We're all there. We lost the game. This stinks. We're not happy about it. Fred's out for the year, it seems like, and we have to go on and kind of find your way to the next victory. But the one thing you can't do is betray the guys in the locker room next to you. And Juwan's on a 1-year contract, on an incentive-based deal essentially. He wants to get paid. You do that, you turn the locker room against you, which I'm not saying this is doing that, but it certainly makes the team, the front office in this case, be a lot more eager to tell you goodbye and net that compensation pick in the offseason rather than resigning you. So, Not the greatest look for Juwan Jennings after the loss today.
Yeah, I'm with you. Now we'll keep an eye on it. I was kind of surprised that he played, honestly, given that he hasn't practiced basically hasn't practiced all season, even going back to preseason and training camp because of the holdout, which was maybe
it's gutsy.
Maybe injury. Yeah, very gutsy. Very gutsy. I was just surprised that he played, and when we'll check on his status for Sunday Night Football against the Falcons as the week moves along. The Niners said earlier in the week that they're hopeful that there would be a chance for George Kittle to return this coming week, which makes it seem like it's definitely not a given for George Kittle. He was eligible to come off of IR for this game, obviously did not. Next chance, of course, is Week 7 at home against the Atlanta Falcons. And then also the way that the language was this morning as it relates to both Mac Jones and Brock Purdy, Sterling, it makes it feel like there's a decent chance that Brock Purdy might not play next week either. Just my initial read on the situation, and we shall see. One thing I will say, Sterling, and we were talking about this a little bit on the other side, and we've got about 15 more minutes left with you. If you want to get a call in, do so now. You're running out of time, 888-957-9570. We've got Warriors preseason basketball with Kevin Dana coming up at 6:30. I think what Brock Purdy needs to do whenever he comes back, whether it's Sunday night against the Falcons, a week from now, or whether it's 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, whatever it is, whenever he does come back, he's got to get back to what was working for him in 2023, which is also what's working for Mac Jones right now, which is not being overly aggressive. And it's taking the easy completion, Sterling. It's taking the checkdowns. It might be boring, It might not be the sexiest. It might not lead you to getting MVP votes like you did in 2023 when you were doing that to all pros all over the place. But Shanahan is still a good enough play caller, Sterling, to scheme up a successful game plan where the quarterback only has to push the ball down the field like 20 yards or more, like a couple of times throughout a game. The Niners beat the Rams with that strategy last week without any reliable pass catchers, really. I think Brock Purdy needs to get back to not playing hero ball, not going for the home runs, because that's where he's gotten into turnover trouble, and it's where I think Mac Jones, frankly, has thrived in his 4 starts. It's just taking what the defense is giving, and oftentimes what the defense is giving is the dump-offs to McCaffrey. When Kittle's back, though, it'll be to Kittle, and it's the easy slants to Kendrick Bourne and all that. That's where I think Brock Purdy needs to put an emphasis on when he returns. It's what has worked for Mac Jones.
Well, there's the old saying, right? Keep it simple, stupid. Like, you don't have to, go crazy with it all the time. You can take your shots. Everyone likes taking a shot downfield. Even Mac Jones takes shots sometimes. He had a 56-yarder today to Kendrick Bourne that went about 20 yards, 30 yards through the air, and he ran the next 16, whatever it was. So I think Kyle's having a great year so far as a play caller still. Like, even today, I thought Kyle was good. There was play calls he called that were awesome, and they moved the ball well, and sometimes you fail in the red zone for a variety of reasons, and we've talked a lot about why that is the case. But, Kyle's doing the best work Kyle's done. And I think knowing you have that in your back pocket and on a consistent basis, yeah, you're right. Brock has to get back to just taking things as simple as they can be. Sometimes you don't have to get to point A to point B at 80 miles an hour. Sometimes you can go the speed limit, and that's okay, right? You're in no rush to make it down the football field with 8.5 left in the third quarter. Sometimes Brock kind of gets a little antsy in the pants, right, and goes, I got to make a big play here on first 10 and 5, and you're like, no, you don't. Like, you got you have the whole field to go. So I think you're right. Purdy has to simplify things, kind of get that one-track mind, and try not to get too blinded by playing Superman, because this offense, this play caller, never really needs quarterbacks to do so unless the game's on the line, but that hasn't been the case for the most part this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. 888-957-9570, reacting to the Niner loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 30-19 is the final score. Then not only do the Niners lose the game, they also lose All-Pro linebacker Fred Warner to a season-ending ankle injury, fractured and dislocated. He will undergo surgery, which will end his year. Mac Jones, post-game, first of all, talking about Fred Warner.
Prayers to Fred and his family and everything. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but obviously looked pretty bad. And Fred's just our team captain, and he's been the leader of this team for a long time. So really all you can do is just pray for him and know that we have his back. I was disappointed that I didn't play better for him today. You really, sometimes that can, create good play, and it didn't today. So really just praying for him, and I know he's going to do a great job, getting back.
There's Mac on Fred. We were talking, Sterling, about Juwan Jennings mentioning his injuries publicly to the media, and Trent Williams kind of politely saying, hey, shut up, we're all playing through things. Here's Mac Jones asking about how he feels physically and his performance.
I feel good. Obviously didn't play my best today, and just proud that we went out there and fought, and it's early in the year, and everyone's dealing with stuff, so feel good. Just want to get out there and get back at practice so I can work on some things.
And then specifically a follow-up, Mac was asked how he's doing physically. Here's how Mac answered that.
Nothing serious, and like I said, everyone's dealing with stuff, and I just really want to get back out there at practice and see what I can do better and really just get ready for next week.
Juwan Jennings has a bunch of fans in the locker room. I'm not saying that the locker room doesn't not like Juwan, but we love Juwan. That right there, Sterling, is also why Mac has immediately won over everyone in that locker room. He's taken shots to play games. He says, I feel great. I can't wait to get out there and practice.
It's like one of those things where people can live in the worst possible conditions yet find a way to be happy still. And yet, a person here in California lives in a mansion and is like, I didn't get to have my $30,000 sushi. And that's obviously me being, a lot of hyperbole involved. But it's like, really? Like, you're that upset about this? And so you see Mac out there taking, literal shot after shot and getting laid over 6 times via a sack and, turning the ball over 3 times, not playing his best game of the season thus far. And out there having a smile like, look, I can't wait to go back to practice. Juwan hasn't practiced all year.
Yep.
And so it's, look, Juwan's fine. He'll be fine, but It's just the one thing you can't do is when chaos is starting to reign over your team, injuries are piling up, and you're part of it, that being Juwan, like, you can't let it get to you because things spiral really quickly and they can build up and kind of, boil over. And for Juwan, like, this team is looking at a future without him, and he's looking at a future of trying to make a big bag. So it's not going to affect that by any means, but it certainly could rub people the wrong way and maybe end his tenure in San Francisco in the wrong way, which you don't want because we all love Juwan. Even Kyle loves Juwan. It's a simple conversation of like, hey, dude, don't do that, and we can be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of Juwan Jennings, here's the comments that we've been referencing for the last 15 or so minutes. Juwan Jennings on injuries in the sport of football.
Playing with injuries is just something. It's a part of it. You got high, low ankle sprains. You got shoulders. 20%. You got ribs, 5 broken ribs. It is what it is. You keep playing, and nobody cares. You keep playing. That's what we do.
And then Juwan was asked to follow up, and he specified his injuries.
Yeah, I got 5 broken ribs.
Is your plan to just do pain tolerance?
Oh, yeah, it's football. I love pain. I wouldn't be playing this sport if I didn't. It's part of it, man. You got to enjoy every little thing that comes with it, and pain is one of those.
Does hearing the answer change your opinion on this comment at all, Sterling?
100%. This is why you have to hear how someone says something. Because you can be on Twitter or X or Facebook or whatever you're on, and you hear the quote, you read the quote, and you're like, oh, that does not sound great. That's a bad, and look, you don't love Juwan, giving that up for free.
Yeah.
If someone asks him, what are you battling, he can tell him for sure, but that sounds way better than what the quote looked like.
Yeah, I agree.
It's football. I love playing through it. You got to do what you got to do. That's a football answer. Man, we have been duped, Mark.
Well, yeah. So, what was the initial tweet that we all saw? Was just he said he has 5 broken ribs and a
Context
high and low
matters.
ankle sprain, which he did technically say that. Although I don't know if our guys in the back, if Steven knows this. Do you know what exactly the question was that led to the first answer? I'm going to play it one more time. Here's the first answer. When he talks about how injuries are part of the game of football.
Playing with injuries is just something. It's a part of it. Got high, low ankle sprains. You got shoulders. 20%. You got ribs, 5 broken ribs. It is what it is. You keep playing, and nobody cares. You keep playing. That's what we do.
I imagine, Steven, the question was something along the lines of you battling out there with your ankle and your ribs. What was it like? Probably something like that.
Yeah, they had just followed up talking about Fred Warner's injury, and then somebody asked how he was.
Gotcha. So you asked how you are physically. You say what you're dealing with, but you say this is what football is. You got to play through it. No one feels sorry for you. I'm just going to keep going out there and playing through it. And then there was a follow-up clarification question. Wait, you have 5 broken ribs? And he's like, yeah, I got 5 broken ribs. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, Sterling.
They tried to villainize good old Third and Juwan, and we fell for it. We're part of the problem here, Mark.
We cleaned it up.
Accept my formal apology. I am so sorry.
We cleaned it up.
Going that in on you. But see, that's an issue because then you ask Trent about it, and Trent's quote looks bad at kind of calling out Juwan.
Yeah.
And it's like, see, this is how stuff starts, and that's what you don't want. So hopefully there can be some communication, whether it has to be done, whether it doesn't, have to be done. But Juwan Jennings, the quote does you a disservice, but your words don't. So hopefully that can get cleaned up by somebody because it looks bad on paper, but on the audio file, on the audio version, the clip we just played, it sounds way better. That's a football answer.
Yeah, I'm with you. More sound from the locker room. Christian McCaffrey talked about losing Fred Warner. If you're just joining us, Fred Warner out for the year in all likelihood. He's undergoing surgery on a broken and dislocated right ankle that he suffered in the first half against Tampa Bay. Here's Christian McCaffrey on that Warner injury.
Yeah, it's just heartbreaking. It's such a weird game when you have to see somebody like that and what happened with Bosa, earlier in the year, and then just have to continue to play. It's kind of a weird deal, but it's heartbreaking. He's one of the best players I've ever played with and one of the best leaders I've ever played with, and so it's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Well said by Christian McCaffrey. One more from Christian. on his game specifically, asked if he would consider this a successful game for him.
I don't know. I think we'll have to look at that tape. I'm always my biggest critic, and so we'll see if it was a successful game or not, But I think there's, probably some plays that I maybe want back. But, I don't know. I mean, I think, look, I work really hard, but at the end of the day, every time I'm able to step on that field, I'm very grateful. I thank God for it because, sometimes, when you're able to play, it's a blessing. It really is. I don't take it for granted.
24 more touches for Christian McCaffrey today, Sterling. He now has, on the season, in 6 games played, 108 carries and 46 catches. So we're looking at 154 touches through 6 games for Christian McCaffrey. He deserves endless applause for what he has done through 6 games because I don't think any of us would have expected he would be able to be healthy for every snap, at least healthy enough to take every snap when he's on pace for that many touches over the course of a season.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when Christian went to Russia last year to get his Achilles fixed, it was at the cost of Fred Nick Bosa's health because
I think it was Germany, not Russia, but same difference.
One of the European countries. No offense to anybody out there from Russia or Germany, but just like
you better be careful.
Let us stray, run amok. But look, Christian's been great this year. I am on the. I feel like we need to change his position. He's not really a running back, technically, but there really needs to be an offensive weapon because the running game ain't working, but he still is there, utilized, and it had a rushing touchdown today. I am very pro having the RBWR title not next to Christian McCaffrey's name because he's doing it all, just not really not a successful running back, but a really good receiver that still runs. So it kind of feels like the new wide back role for San Francisco in a way.
Yeah, let me see if I can bring up these numbers really quick. I don't know if they'll be updated with what's happened so far today or in week number 6. No, this is just through 5 games. McCaffrey is 6th in the NFL in receiving yards entering this week, and he's 3rd in catches. He's still going to be behind Puka. Believe it or not, Jake Ferguson, 2nd in the NFL in catches, entering week number 6. Amon-Raj playing right now on Sunday night, a few behind McCaffrey. Jackson Smith and Jigba, a couple behind him. He had a gigantic day for the Seahawks today. Jackson Smith and Jigba did, but McCaffrey, again today, caught 7 passes for 57 yards, over 100 all-purpose yards, as he is just about every single game. Got into the end zone, this time on the ground. 4 total touchdowns. Sterling, we got 2 more minutes until we get out of here for Warriors preseason basketball. If Christian McCaffrey somehow was not healthy through the course of the first 6 weeks of this season, Niners are probably like 1-5. And I don't think that's like a crazy suggestion because he has been the difference. He's been like the only way they've been able to move the ball at times this year.
You could even say they might be 0-6.
Possibly.
That's how important that's how important he's been, and they're getting it done in different ways with him. He's been operating on a different level this year as a wide receiver compared to running back in previous seasons with San Francisco. But, you can discuss loss of step and all that stuff a different day because Christian McCaffrey, I think every single game this year has had over 100 scrimmage yards, which is hard to do for any player.
Yep.
And the way he's playing it deserves praise. He's been phenomenal. Again, you want more on the ground, but as we discussed a lot tonight, the offensive line has to get fixed for that to happen. But CMC, still a great player, getting it done in new and different ways this season.
Yeah, he had 107 all-purpose yards week 2 versus New Orleans. That's his lowest output on the year. 111 all-purpose yards this week, and not enough for the Niners to get the win. But McCaffrey has had at least 107 all-purpose yards in every game so far this year, despite not rushing for 70 yards or more a single time this year, which is crazy. That's how much he's doing through the air. Sterling, that's all the time we have today. Been great hanging out with you here on Overtime. I wish it was a better game and not as a dire injury news. We will do it again Sunday Night Football a week from today. Niners at home versus the Falcons. Until then, have a good week, and I'll talk to you later.
Next week, not going to be in Oklahoma, so expect a win, Mark. We're back, buddy. We're back.
You better hope so. Otherwise, I'm blaming you for that one as well. All right, that's all we got today, but we got Warriors preseason basketball in LA versus the Rams coming up next. For my guys Cam and Steven and Sterling, I'm Mark Randy signing off. Warriors basketball next.
We finally switched to T-Mobile because with them, we can be connected here and there.
Let's watch a movie.
And we have Netflix included to enjoy our favorite shows and movies.
¿Qué tal esta? Buenísima, pero ya la vi.
Now the hard part is getting them to agree on a movie.